One of the 8 pirate lords.
The 9 piece of 8.
The 9 pieces of 8. But we didn't really have any 8 pieces on them because they were a tad bit broke.
We named the monkey Jack.
We're the monkey Jack. Oh,
we're gonna be doing that.
Entirely Barbossa accent.
Barbossa's the best pirate. There's no one else you bring back. He's the guy who's got it.
That's my take. Everyone loves fucking Jack Sparrow, but no, Barbossa's where it's at.
I'm like the Barbossa. I would freak out with the Barbossa meet and greet at Disneyland. You know,
Calypso. They
you see
match
Johnny
each
Depp,
other.
you're like, whatever.
Yeah, I'm like, ugh.
Those are the only 2 actors who could match each other. I think. I don't know if he's better. I don't know, because Jack Sparrow originated a whole franchise, he's the reason those movies still exist. But Barbados keeps you watching.
Yeah,
exactly.
But he just guy too. He's like the one guy who gets the tone, you know. Johnny Depp's just kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah,
but he's bringing the camp.
It's like the boys go for Jack Sparrow, the men go for Barbossa.
Sure.
True that.
Oh,
it's true.
It's an evolved palette, you know.
And the Kings go for Davy Jones.
Yeah.
Actually, Davy Jones is the one. He's because how do you make a villain in a movie full of scallywags?
You're dead.
You have a debt.
Oh
no! Jack Sparrow. You owe David Jones your soul.
Yes. Here in the room as a guest on the show, we
shaking.
have.
Wait, do you Keira Knightley? Do you Keira Knightley to match?
I have to get the black pearl.
You didn't even have to say anything. It was the teeth.
Yeah, it's just so she speaks. She acts with her jaw. Deserves a separect.
You go
award.
to the end of the earth.
Will you go to the end of the earth? Or how can we forget? It must be spoken as if by a lover. It's like. Calypso! And just whispers in her ear so intimately. It's just, I release you from human bonds. And it was that guy.
Hello, puppet.
Hello, puppet.
Yeah, that's damn perfect.
No, and we've covered no content of the plot, but
And
somehow.
Orlando Bloom just talks like
Orlando
himself.
Bloom
He's
is
just
pretty. Elizabeth! Will! Everything's a scream. Everything's Will! It's never a
but
Will.
but held back, you know? The restraint of
or
I can't.
The movie opens tonally with just the darkest imagery. It opens with a noose.
Literally the first shot is the news. We're just jumping right in. Yeah.
Let me.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, well, we'll start with Pirates. I'll jump in. I'll give us some intro here.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinema Span. We are covering the films of 2007, doing a deep dive on all sorts of them. Today, we've got a double feature of blockbusters from 2007, Pirates of the Caribbean 3, At World's End, and Spider-Man 3. Woo woo!
Yarg.
Real pirate times.
Welcome.
All right, I got a plethora of guests with me today. First up, we have filmmaker and musician Adelaide.
Howdy, guys. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Then we have your friendly neighborhood AJ from the CriteriCast podcast.
I'm going to put some dirt in your eye.
Is that a threat or a promise?
Dig on this. That snapping will show up, right?
Yeah, definitely. If not, we'll put it in post.
You're good.
Yeah. And then we also have Pirate King Evan Ridpath right here. Are you one of the pieces of 8, or what? Are you, the Lords of 7?
Yeah, I was kicked out of the council.
Oh,
It used to be 9, but now it's 8.
Yeah.
damn.
He's the one of one.
Sorry, I brought it up.
That's fine.
Yeah,
He's a land pirate.
I thought it was like a fun pirate story, not like a sad one.
No, it's not fun.
Yeah.
No.
They make it look glamorous in the movies, but
It's not.
Do they? Because they're always like covered in mud.
Oh, the teeth in the movie.
I feel like there's not enough sand. Like, there's got to be sand all over. Like,
Yeah.
it's got to be messy.
Definitely
like
enough
so
water.
sunburnt,
Yeah.
just like peeling skin.
That's when you're that covered in grease and salty brine.
I wouldn't survive.
No.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't make it either. No, I probably wouldn't.
I'd be fine.
Yeah. You.
I would not.
You know that pirates have to wake up before noon, right?
Oh, wow. We're going to bring it onto the podcast.
Yeah, we're bringing our baggage onto this podcast.
Yeah. Our torrid affair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Well, so Pirates of the Caribbean 3 is directed by Gore Verbinski. He directed all 3 of the Pirates films, and they
All 3.
all three. There's no other ones.
Well,
At all.
the other 2 weren't
Yeah.
directed by anyone. They just happened.
Yeah, exactly. It was by committee.
I gotta know what happened in Gore's life when like in between 2 and 3.
Well,
Or were they made at the
these-
same
no
time?
these were made together, like Back to the Future 2 and 3, like they planned to do that, but
The Lord of the Rings
they
did that too.
they pushed it off because it's usually too much, like for like the crew to handle and the cast.
Yeah, especially when you were
this was a
literally
300-day shoot.
on location.
bus.
Some of it.
Christ.
And oh, dude, and it gets like the production issues they had because they were shooting on water. Like it is insane. They had a tsunami come through like the town, and they shut down production for like 2 weeks
They
at
had
some
Johnny
point.
Depp come through.
Johnny Depp came
Was
through,
there?
from
Yeah.
day one.
Yeah,
They brought him back.
yeah, he had to come back.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. They weren't. The scripts weren't finished when they started shooting
Wow.
these 2. But yeah,
Just the tone is so different. Is so vastly different from the first to the second. Like there are hints of that sort of gothic pirate nature in the second one. I believe that opens with punching or shooting through the casket door and then killing the crow.
Johnny Depp's dead and
it's
comes back
great.
alive.
It's
Yeah.
so good. And he does that. He returns as well on the third, but instead it opens with a child hanging. And
Well, I actually really like the opening for the third because like there's this power shift from the English Royal Navy to the East Indian Trading Company, which is like a made up company in this movie, but they were based on a real trading company that was ruthless. They didn't, give anyone trials. They just like executed people in mass, and like, they were committing war crimes like that were worse than what the pirates were actually doing. Yeah. But they were also kind of in control of the
ain't that the way
narratives.
it's
That was one thing I was
right?
wondering. I was like, how much did the English army really crack down on pirates? I feel like there was like 8 or 9 actual pirate
right, like
ships.
big ones,
Yeah.
and most of them got hired by like the royals
Yeah, like
eventually
Davy
too.
Jones. And
half of them are legends.
Well, and that it's like such a power move on their part too, because you have Davy Jones established as the villain of the second one, and in the third one, like they're like, nah, you work for us now. And
Yeah.
you work for me.
it's like they're
Yeah.
the imperialistic force, just
The
taking
combined
over.
villainistic
Yeah.
forces.
It is
which
crazy
so
how
fun.
much they like gut in Davy Jones like in his agency in the third one too, because he
Yeah.
is so menacing in the second one,
And he's a
like
dog
I
in the
forgot
third.
I forgot he's even really in the third. I thought of these 2 movies as one. I haven't seen them probably since they came out like 15, 16 years ago. And so, yeah, I just thought the third Pirates movie was like another villain altogether. I didn't realize Davy Jones still just hanging around.
Yeah, it does kind of take away the mystique and scariness of the evil ghost pirate
Right.
ship when they're just like working for the government.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
essentially like informants for the cops. Like,
Yeah.
And like the Kraken is like no longer this, beast that can't be tamed and like, maybe only like listens. Yeah, they're just killed off screen. They're
yeah,
like,
the Kraken's gone. Instead, it's it's Calypso. It's Calypso. So
yeah, Calypso's a fine enough like emotional hold for
Yeah.
Davy Jones. It's just like it feels like most of the film he's just hanging out, waiting to like resolve his issues with her.
get his heart back.
Yeah.
Get it back.
Yeah, and
was
also
taken.
like it goes from the first movie, the 2 guards they're talking about like there's a scary ship out there. That's just a rumor and then the third movie they're guarding a squid man's heart. And it's just like, we're guarding his heart.
it's so absurd. I mean, that's the thing. They're not like afraid to lean into like the genre pastiche here.
This ain't a lean, this is a dive.
Oh, it is a
It's-
dive.
oh.
Full
They
bait.
plunge
Full
their
bait.
They're
head.
out
Yeah.
at sea.
It gets
what
weird
is
because you
it?
start with the movie that Jack Sparrow's like dead in.
Oh yeah, literally.
Like,
He's
like-
Yeah.
literally dead.
The
And they have to
funeral
go-
scene at the end of the second one, and then they return to that universe when they're in what is it?
Davy Jones' locker?
No, it's where they go.
It's like the Land Beyond or whatever,
It's
right?
the Land Beyond. It's the same location. I think it's the same location as the funeral. If it's not, it's the area where they find Orlando Bloom. They find William Turner, and he's being waterboarded essentially.
Oh, Singapore?
Singapore.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the nation I was
Yes.
forgetting. Yes. So they show up in Singapore, and that whole imagery is like a second opening of the film in itself, where you get this universe of the
Yeah.
hangings and this just evil government, and then suddenly it's like
Yeah, you know how your fun summer blockbuster opens with a child being hanged?
Oh yeah.
And then transfers
In sea shanties, you know, everyone sing along.
I was joking.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, what if like Endgame just opened with a bunch of like live executions?
But it's like snap style, like people just like disappearing, and they're like, yeah, they show
Anyone
the
who is
hundreds of
associated
thousands
with a
of people,
scroll will be snapped to death.
like a football arena, and just like half of them are gone. Like after. Yeah, actually, the intro at Singapore is interesting because I might be crazy here, but I felt like this movie has a million like parallels with Star Wars, and like because like you have this trilogy or this trio of characters rather.
Yeah.
And like the kind of like adventure film they're going through, plus like the pulpy genre like roots it's
and they're
coming
in the
from.
swamp with Yoda when they meet their guidance, like Barbados shows
that
up.
happened. That exactly. happens
Barbosa,
there.
damn it! I'm gonna call him Barbados this whole time, but Barbosa. If I say Barbados, no, I'm saying Barbosa.
No, but it definitely does do that like Return of the Jedi thing where the opening
Right.
20 minutes are
Jabba's palace.
they're rescuing someone who's lost, and
Yeah.
he's even like he's not frozen, but he's like strapped to something.
Right. Yeah, and then also the love triangle moving through with all the characters like just feels like some of those mechanisms where they were like, okay, we know Jack like is not really going to be a love interest for Keira Knightley,
No,
but we're
still-
gonna push it.
I know,
it's absurd.
He's such a queer character in that sense where like he's got all these different women who are going around, and yet he's just the object of fixation for these men. And he is so not tied to any singular woman, but like he loves the sea.
That's the rock star energy. He's got that like kind of flamboyant, kind of swishy,
Yeah.
a little
Like,
androgynous
oh,
thing.
he'll go for anyone, love.
But like really, he only goes for
like he just
ladies.
likes, but
It's the Harry Styles phenomenon.
Well, if this was made
Yeah.
10 years later, they would have like had to actually make him flirt with a guy.
Yeah,
But they were
exactly.
like,
But there,
yeah,
it's
no,
like, no,
like-
he's queer enough, and in truly the sense of queerness, of otherness and strangeness, and of like sort of the sexual otherness where you can't. He's obviously getting around, but he's weirdly androgynous at the same time, and he's always drunk. And you're like, how do you even have sex? You're always drunk. Like, yeah.
Well, his
Rum
compass
dick.
doesn't
Yeah.
work for most of the films. And
That's true.
that is
There's
crazy.
the thing where Barbosa has the looking glass.
Right,
It
right.
extends
Yes.
really far, and Jack
Compare.
can't get his to work.
And it's smaller.
And it's
Mine's bigger than
smaller.
But
yours.
he pulls it out with confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
And
he
sometimes
know,
that's all that matters.
it's a smaller telescope, right? Like
That's
You're
the
holding
flare
it.
is not gonna
Yeah.
accentuate. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, with Star Wars, and once you enter all these different worlds and different terrains, and when they go through the ice, when they're going through the Arctic, that
His
is
toe breaks off.
yes, and that was childhood right
yeah,
there.
I'm surprised they're able to like some of those jokes do work for me, like the dude tearing his toe off.
So
like
funny, it holds up so
I
well.
love the ragtag team on the Black Pearl that they have. Like,
all
like-
of them are just bringing the characters so consistently, and like
Yeah.
the duo, the two guys who are
Oh,
best
yes,
friends.
Yeah,
yes,
like,
the
gross
dude with the
guys.
missing eye and they're the glass eye.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I liked the gross jokes like that, like the toe breaking out. But then there was also a lot of bazinga moments where it's like
Yes,
they
yes.
leave
Yeah.
room for the audience to laugh at
Yeah.
Johnny Depp. Ooh.
I know.
And his
Yeah.
whole thing where they have like 6 of him in one room, and there he's all hallucinating them.
It's
Like
so
those
rough.
bits are so funny, but they're so rough. They are so obvious. You're like, oh, it's so entertaining. I watch this guy. It's like watching a cat move. You could watch them for hours, but it's
Exactly.
not content.
To me,
just-
it's like the Tumblr 2007 like
Yes.
this era of
Epic
like
sauce.
exactly.
Right
well, I mean,
before
even
Avengers
Reddit
came
humor,
out.
but like
Yeah.
And Hot Topic just kind of like you're signifying to things, but you're not really like.
you got to put the quotes on T-shirts to
Yeah.
sell the T-shirts. And when it was 6 Johnny Depps, and one of them goes, wait, I've dropped my brain. And then there's like a 4-second pause. You're like, yeah.
Okay, that scene has a like I watched the deleted scenes, which there's about 20 minutes of, and after he drops his brain,
Yeah.
that scene keeps going, and then one of him just starts clucking like a chicken, and it's like so
Isn't that in the
unnecessary. No, well, I think there is a chicken
It's a
cluck in the
callback.
other part. It's called back.
Because he's like eating a peanut, and like there's like
Yeah,
a
yeah, the
goat.
peanuts a
There's
bit,
just a
yeah.
goat there, and he's like one of them's in love with the goat.
Oh yeah, and he won't let him eat the goats.
And then there's a tiny Jack Sparrow on each shoulder.
Yeah.
And each
Oh my
dreadlock.
God,
This
yeah.
movie's fucking nutty. This is easily the
so-
nuttiest.
But it
with
opens the
like,
darkest.
they filmed like they made a giant like dreadlocks for like Johnny Depp to like be acting. And so like it wasn't like it was CG. Like,
No.
he was actually like on a giant model of himself.
Swinging
I missed
around.
that completely. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
Like, the production design of it is insane. Like
It's absolutely insane.
what they put into the sets. And
Yeah, well, the
and
ships alone, like, because they're real ships that float,
going
you know?
on location.
Like they cost multiple millions of dollars each one. That's why, like, when there was a hurricane coming through, they shut down production. They put the boats up like in a warehouse because they were like, if this one ship breaks, it will take 6 more months to build. You know, and like it'll just like shut. That's our movie, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
we both watched the behind the scenes for the second one
Yeah.
called According to Plan, where it's just like all of the very struggles they went through to make the second. And watching that, I'm like, okay, I kind of get why every movie's made on a green screen now. Like this looks
Seriously,
exhausting and kind of unnecessary.
Well, and there's stuff like in there where like they negotiated with someone like, and you know, this company was going to build a water volume tank for them to, you know, put the ships in and shoot in like the Bahamas or the Caribbean so that they could get the right water and the right light, you know, skylights and all that. And basically they started shooting 4 months later, like the volume wasn't built at all. And they were just like, okay, now we're just like, our whole production's here ready to shoot and there's nothing to do. Like,
They just have
like
to
that-
hang around.
that's
Imagine
insane.
having to hang around with like Johnny Depp.
yeah.
And in the Caribbean, though, that's cool.
He doesn't seem like a very chill hang, I gotta say.
No, there's even a bit where like it's like the sea's too rocky to shoot like in the boats, and he's getting his makeup done.
Oh, wow.
And like they are evacuating the entire ship, and they come into the makeup room to tell him. And like he makes it all about himself, of course. Like he's reacting like, "Oh man, I spent all this time sitting in here, and now we're not gonna, you know, like." Type thing, and you're like,
Wow,
yeah,
like, well, that's
they're
what you
very.
want.
The documentary doesn't show too much bad stuff about Johnny Depp, but
It's still like
still
kind
some
of
stuff in
amazing that
there.
a Disney documentary behind the scenes is able to show that much because they would never do any of that shit. Now you watch any of the like Avengers behind the scenes, like this was the best environment we could have worked on. Like we all loved
Absolutely.
it.
yeah, no, all the Disney Plus like featurettes are like that now. Rise of Skywalker, like yeah, good luck getting
Not
any
to dip
details
into
out
the
of anyone.
next movie, but I watched the Spider-Man No Way Home behind the scenes just to be like, okay, is
yeah?
anyone just gonna like not care? And then it was so clear they were like reading from a script. They're like, John Watts is such a great director. I'm just like, none of you, you're not telling the truth. Stop. Back to Pirates.
Yeah, it's too unfortunate.
on top of the like production value of it all, like you said, like it's clear why so many films are made on green screens, and yet like the visual effects in this one, which ILM did, Industrial Light and Magic, like holds up better than even the stuff that is done today. And like,
God, have you seen
look
it?
at Davy Jones and his crew, and even just how they augment the real ships with like the maelstrom, the fight, and all that. Like it's like it looks
It's
better.
breathtaking.
Than
When Calypso grows,
Calypso.
when she gets bigger and bigger,
yeah.
and she's like screams. It's like the one really good performance from Will Turner, that whole movie. But he's like, "Tell him who freed you. Like, tell him who told them how to tie him." And she just says, "Like, name him." And then he whispers, and then she just slowly grows to enormous size, and it is like chill-inducing. Like I wanted to cry. Like just that whole performance, that whole mini dynamic within. They just built that world so well.
Oh yeah.
See, the whole time Calypso was getting bigger, my reaction was, "What is happening? What is going on?
Why is she doing that?
What is,
She getting
how did
bigger?
this happen?" There was one point I had to pause and just be like, "All right, so they collected the pieces so that they can set it on fire, so Calypso can breathe it in, so that she can get big."
Yeah.
You have to whisper in her ear first.
And then I was like, "Okay, and Addie, why are they doing this?
And I was like, well, obviously it's so we can free her and then let her return
And
to
I'm
the
like,
sea so
okay,
she can
but-
control all of the crabs across all of the oceans.
why?
Yeah, it's
She's a
because
goddess. She can do what she wants.
we needed a
Does she need
reason
an
for her
explanation?
not to be unleashed until the third act, you know,
Exactly.
and now it's time for the third act, man.
and never see her again.
Yeah.
Yeah, did she come back for any of the other movies?
I don't know.
just
I got an hour into Pirates of the Caribbean 4.
Is that the one
Thank
with the
you.
mermaids?
That's as far as anyone can get. I don't think anyone can get further than
I
that.
saw that movie in the theaters, but
Me
I've
too.
never seen it. You know what I mean? Like I watched
It was-
the screen, I stared at the images
Yeah.
as they were projected.
No, I was like usually I watch a movie, you know, but like I was like playing some video games while I was watching this one because I'm like, it's Pirates 4. I don't really have to watch
Yeah.
this. And even then, I was like, I cannot get through this.
The problem
like just listening,
turning it
I was
on.
like, I gotta go.
The problem with 4 is they realized that Jack Sparrow was such a successful character, and they made him the protagonist.
Right.
And he's better as a supporting character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it starts
William
to happen in
Turner.
this one
And
too a bit.
The
Where
fifth-
like
the fifth
he has
one, I'll give
the
it-
yeah.
They give him like
They push
that
him back a
supporting
bit.
role, which helps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still.
Well, but
not
it's like
great, but-
Cars 2. Like Mater was so
Right,
big
yeah,
in the
yeah.
first Cars that he
Yeah.
takes
Wait,
over
have
the
you
second.
seen Pirates 5?
I have seen Pirates 5. I saw it in theaters.
Oh my God.
When it came out.
That's
Did
the
they like
Javier
pay you to
Bardem.
do that, or
That's the one that.
were you being held hostage?
That is the one that Johnny Depp was apparently fed the lines.
lines
in
through the
his
ear?
ears because he just was so checked out of
Yeah.
doing it. And he would show up late. They had like a person like waiting outside his, I don't know, they were
Trailer or
filming in, like,
whatever.
I think Australia or something like that. And they had someone waiting outside his place to see when the lights would come off, and all production would just have to wait because he would like do whatever at night, sleep till noon,
Whenever- yeah.
and then
So they'd be like, okay,
That's
we
me.
8
For all the
hours
listeners,
from
they
now.
gestured
we
at
gotta
me.
go
guy
to the,
was outside, and they're like, "Okay, his light's on.
Okay, he's awake. We gotta
All right,
grab
guys.
him, grab
Yeah,
him."
let's get ready." So,
Grab Paul McCartney. We need him.
Yep.
Do you think he pulled that shit when an actual Beatle was on set? Like, was he still just like 4 hours late?
No,
to
I think
filming?
he and Keith Richards were late because they were smoking too much in the back room before drinking his exotic wine or whatever. Keith Richards bringing him in was such a great decision, and then for them to bring in Paul McCartney was so stupid. They're
Did
like,
it-
"Oh, let's see if we can get."
Did it make Paul a pirate?
Yeah, he's like in
He's
a
his
cell.
uncle or
Uncle
something.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, great. That's so bad, but I love it.
It's ridiculous because then Keith Richards just works so well, and of course they hand him a guitar, and he's just like fiddling with the guitar and his gnarly fucking weird
Well,
looking
Keith
fingers.
Richards is literally who he based his performance on. He's doing an imitation of Keith Richards.
Then it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Paul McCartney is just like,
Some
do
guy.
you want to be in the movie?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Paul wanted to be in the movie. You're just
Yeah,
saying no?
exactly. You gonna say no to a Beatle?
The man wrote yesterday. Like,
Called
what the-
us. Yeah. He heard we were making a new movie. And he asked if he could be in it.
He's actually the reason we got this greenlit. He just said he likes these enough.
Yeah, okay.
We're like, we'll do it for Paul.
Just a passing comment. I was like, oh, I remember. I think I saw them. I like them.
Oh, those are good. Yeah.
I've been to Disneyland. Yeah.
Oh, the ride. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I took LSD and went to Disney. The pirates really talked to me. I said, Paul, right, Sergeant Pepper? And I said, oh.
Hold up. What's the timeline on the submarine ride at Disneyland and Yellow Submarine?
Is there a yellow submarine?
There was
There's
an
a
underwater
Yeah, that's 20,000 leagues under
leagues,
the
right?
ocean
Yeah.
or whatever.
Is it not yellow? Is it not a
It's
yellow
not
submarine?
It's not official
Now it's-
Beatles.
yeah, no.
Well, no,
Well,
I
they-
know, but like, could Paul have been influenced by this? Is what I'm pitching here. you know?
Oh.
Like,
Like
which came
old,
first?
Old ride.
Yeah.
That fucking thief. I don't know. But I'm just gonna say right here that Paul McCartney stole all of his shit.
I think, yeah.
Baseless
write any of it.
It's a baseless claim, but I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
it.
Well, Paul McCartney died, and then another guy took his place, and
Yeah.
just took all of his drafts and stuff, and like,
Cool.
yeah. Paul is dead.
That's not even the most conspiratorial thing I've said on a podcast. My last 3 I've had to edit out when I just like tell people how to make bombs.
That's great. Well, on that note, I was gonna say you're right. The ILM effects are actually groundbreaking on this film. So like usually it's actually a really good comparison, these two films, because Spider-Man 3 has a lot of the old school kind of composite work where you would do a digital pass, you would do like a practical pass, and then you would like try to implement these things in post-production, just kind of layering each image on top of each other. In this film, ILM built the technology to have, the actor wearing the ping pong suit where he's on set, and they capture all of his motion capture performance as he's doing the practical run. So they get both the digital pass and the practical pass at once.
I have those great photos of Bill Nye in
In the
great
car.
pajamas,
Yep.
just hanging out with everybody.
Yeah, and I think it's also like why everything else here works so well too. Gore Verbinski was a compositor. He did virtual effects works for like most of his career before this. So he also had like a really good eye on like making these effects work, and even like he would get like some of the dailies back from like the ILM, and he would be like, oh, turn the translucency down on this or
Wow.
up. Like he could give a note that specific.
But he was also one of the biggest pushers for them to do things practically, because in the behind the
Yeah.
scenes, he's like, no, we got to do it practically. It's not going to look as good if we don't.
No, and that's the beauty of like both of these films, is that they merge practical effects too, because all the digital effects are still so time intensive and expensive to do that you really had to pick and choose and make it work.
But you also kind of see the transition from like how movies were made when they were actual films to like the Marvel goop of today.
Yeah.
Going from like practical big sets and then like maybe a little CGI to enhance it. So the third movie, they have like fully CGI characters. Like the end fight is like pretty much CGI. And then you go to like fast forward to nowadays when it's just a green room and Spider-Man's not even wearing the costume.
Yeah. The worst case scenario of like, the Hobbit movies where they didn't even have the swords and the shields designed. They were just holding like literal green noodles and hitting stuff. And it's like,
Ian
okay,
McKellen's
like
having a breakdown in the back.
exactly.
I used to do Shakespeare. Probably prepared him for Cats, like that environment.
Honestly, well,
Nothing else could break him,
From
right?
an actor, you'd think from an actor's perspective that would be in some way enticing because so much of it is just bare bones imagination and trying to insert yourself into a situation that's complete fantasy. But it's gone beyond that sort of imagination. It's not a black box theater anymore when it becomes a green screen. It becomes this weird capitalistic tool where it's like, oh, sure, whatever. Like the old, like, no, don't say we can fix it in post. That's annoying. Now it's like, oh, fuck it, do whatever you want. We own you now. You have to do the next 8 years worth of movies for these. So if you ever mess up or whatever, just fix it.
It also gives them an excuse not to even finish the scripts, and they can change everything later. And like,
Which a story like that that's so you think that's so fundamental to telling a story is knowing how it ends and that enhances everything throughout the plot.
But now like they're not even concerned about like whether we have the actors because they can just be like, yeah, let's just pull up the CGI model they don't even need ADR.
You could
sometimes
be dead.
They'll train
Put you in a
an
movie.
AI to
Yeah, what they're doing with James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
They were just roboting his voice around. That's fucking evil, in my opinion.
That's scary.
The Carrie
It
Fisher
is,
thing
it
in
is.
Rise of Skywalker is like one of the most evil things I've ever seen in a movie. They're just puppeting around a corpse.
It's rough. And it's like, that's the thing is they also bring Harrison Ford back in that film. Like that's what you were supposed to do. Like you create another reason, to bring a Force ghost back or something but don't, dig up the grave, like you can do that. You can drive a dump truck of money to Harrison Ford's
I love
house.
Harrison Ford.
He will
Rise
come
of
back,
Skywalker.
and another dump truck of just Nug.
It
And
is.
he will be a part of your movie.
A 1-to-1 ratio, and he's
So
in.
quick
Yeah.
they had him for like half a day. He didn't even shave for the
I know,
movie.
it's so
Han
bad.
Solo has never had any sort of facial hair. He shows up with like active stubble. He's got bags under his eyes. He just got out of bed.
He's
Like,
literally wearing the Indiana Jones hat. Like he walked over
one am I
from
doing?
like shooting that. Like
What am I fucking doing?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck a Force ghost is, and I don't care.
Don't make me blue.
What an awful, awful movie. If you ever do 2019, I'll come on through.
2019 is a really great year. It's just so recent,
Yeah.
for like the
Joker
concept of
and Rise
this.
of Skywalker, and just have me yell for 2 hours.
What wasn't Hereditary? No, that was 27.
Well, you got like
Hereditary's
Irishman, Parasite, Lady Bird, right? Is
Lady Bird's
2019?
2017.
17.
You got Once Upon a
it's
Time in
Little
Hollywood.
Women. Little Women.
Little
right?
Women.
Oh my
Or-
God,
yeah.
My
Little
Little
Women.
Women.
I love them, Little Women. Little Women.
My Little
All
women.
I
Bob
like
Odenkirk saying My Little Women.
My Little Women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
I don't think we addressed that Davy Jones' boat's called the Flying Dutchman.
It
I mean,
is.
that's just part of the fable, but
like it.
to me, it feels like it comes from SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I know nothing about pirate lore. Like it's just
Why is it flying? First of all, you're on the ocean. Canonically,
Yeah.
pirates exist on water. Why would you be flying
I
anything?
feel like if anyone here knows about pirate lore, it's you.
Well, and then I can
When
certainly
we were
make it up.
making the costume, Addie just kept me like, "Oh, I should bring this too, and this, and this." I'm like, "How much
Don't worry.
pirate memorabilia?"
Yes,
do
I
you
am,
have?
I am in a pirate costume right now. For those of us listening at home, and yeah, I own all of this. I didn't have to go and get anything. And flying a Dutchman, and then you think the Dutch are the Dutch surrounded by water? Aren't they landlocked?
I never even put together that Dutch.
I didn't.
Isn't
Yeah,
that
the
German?
Dutch man.
went right over
The
my
d-
head.
like
I was thinking
Deutschland?
it was like what do you call the pastries that are like
Oh.
Danishes? I was just like
The
they're
flying
just
Danish.
named after where they come from. Like it's not about the thing.
Like, why is this German man in the air when he's supposed to be a pirate on the water? The Flying Dutchman. That I want.
It doesn't fly once. It floats. It's a boat.
Yeah.
I'm looking this up.
You should call a plane the Flying Dutchman.
If anything, it goes underwater.
It really does. Okay, there was a
The
moment
swimming
also
Dutchman.
when the Dutchman, exactly, the submerged Dutchman was in the middle of a fight and getting torn apart by British forces. And all I could think was, you guys can go underwater. You know you can go underwater. you can just take your boat and avoid all of this if you just went under. And that's a nitpicky thing, but
yeah, this film is like full of plot holes like that though, and like that is all because of just like the logistics of like how
not
how
finishing
the plot
a script before
unfolds. Exactly.
start a movie. Yeah.
My favorite thing.
You're just looking at it.
My favorite thing is it like I like how weird and wild this movie gets, where they're like, hey, we want to have this like Western like standoff with all of our like key heroes and villains. Let's put them on a beach in the middle of nowhere so that they can have this
which
scene.
rules? Yeah,
Which
so
is, it's
cool.
great, and the music
Concept,
is great, and like I love that. But then they're like, oh, we have this plot hole that Davy Jones can't go on land except once every 10 years.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, let's put him in this bucket. And so like you see that and you're like, okay, that's kind of funny. He's
Yeah,
like
that's
standing in a
right.
bucket. But then you're like, well, on his side is Cutler Beckett and Will. So like, did they have to carry him in this
the
bucket?
bucket.
Foot by
And
foot.
they're like, oh,
he
you
was-
take one side, and
he was
they're
waiting on the shore while they had to carry this.
Also,
Like,
they-
why couldn't they could just make
just
the
unexplained.
island have a pool of water
they could
just
where
put
that
it in a
he's
tank.
standing in? Like just take some creative license.
He could
Just
have
take
stood
a
off to the
shower.
side, yeah.
Also, I've got some fun facts for the gang. So the Flying Dutchman, it is a noun. It is
I would hope.
Good. Glad someone
is-
did the research.
that's it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing. So, in 1813, it was first used as a legendary Dutch mariner reference because this legendary Dutch mariner was condemned to sail the seas until Judgment Day. And it's, according to legend, a spectral ship that haunts the seas near the Cape of Good Hope.
And is under the employ of the British Trading Company.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, what we got. Okay,
blowing ping pong.
so we have to address Captain Barbossa here because so Captain Barbossa is the proper film or the film's first villain, right? And he dies. Like they throw like a bomb in him. Like isn't he like
He gets shot by Jack
gets shot.
right as Will cuts his hand and the blood falls on the coins, making him no longer zombies.
Exactly. He's unzombified.
Curses, bro.
Yeah.
He seems very dead at the end of the first one.
Yes.
But at
Should
the
be.
at the end of the second film, after Jack is dead, they go and find Calypso, who
she brings him
no
Calypso.
one has met. And Calypso's just like, we're gonna need a little help. And Barbossa walks down the stairs, and he is like,
Chomping on
he's
his
like,
apple.
but he's like ready to join the crew. Like that's what's insane.
just
It's like
been up
these
there.
people that like killed him. Like the last time he saw them, he's now like already ready to go.
bygones
Like,
be bygones.
They didn't kill him. I mean, it was
Jack
Captain
technically
Jack
killed him.
Sparrow that killed him, but then it was
mean,
the
Will
whole
helped.
crew was
But, yeah.
just there.
He met
all kinda had
all
a little
those
bit of a
people though,
vendetta.
That
like
is true. They
Yeah.
were all there. They didn't really do anything to stop it.
He really did do the Nick Fury, like, I'm putting together a team.
yeah.
That's the whole third movie.
But-
He's Nick Fury.
And that's the thing, it works like because they were able to bring him into the third film in a fun way, but it feels really interesting because like it's one of those things that you see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe all the time now, where something happens at the end of a film that feels like a status quo change, and then they don't even follow up on it. Like they just drop that thread entirely.
I hate it.
And it's like, here they at least knew they were making a third film, whether or not it was written, so they knew they were going to use
Yeah.
it. But the third film ends with this search for the fountain of youth, and that gets dumped on the fourth film. And the fourth film's pretty bad. Like, what was it because they tried to actually follow up on this stuff, or it feels like you
they
can
did-
see the way franchises are starting to like learn. There's a certain language
Yeah.
to the manipulation.
One thing they did do, I think, gracefully for the fourth film was bringing back Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom for just the right amount of
That was
time.
the
Wait,
fifth
they're
movie.
in it?
That was the
Yeah,
fifth.
That was the
yeah,
fifth.
yeah.
Oh, dang it. Okay, that made me cry.
Wait, have you been this whole time been thinking of the fifth movie when you keep defending the fourth to me?
Maybe was the fourth the mermaid one?
Yeah, the fourth's the Mermaids.
I thought that was the same one as the returning and then the kissing and the every 10 years the big green light.
That's the end of the
comes and-
third one where he returns to land and then it's
See,
like a post-credit scene.
But I thought there was a daughter.
Yeah, that's like
fifth
the
one.
Okay.
the fifth one.
It's there.
Interesting.
See, that was the seventh.
Ah!
Oops, all pirates.
So they were gonna make another Pirates film with Margot Robbie,
Right.
but
What?
I believe it got canceled, but it was
Yeah,
in
probably
production
because
for like a
Amber
year
Heard.
or two.
Johnny Depp.
Well, I don't know if like Jack Sparrow and Johnny Depp became viable again. Like, well, to do like a 6 pirates, right? Like, or if there's some other issue, because I don't know, it seems like an easy send up to get this franchise going again.
Wants it.
You don't think anyone wants that film?
I'd take another Pirates of the Caribbean.
You are the problem.
I have some more, please.
I love content.
I mean, swashbuckling nonsense.
They're all having fun on
if there's set pieces as inventive as this film, like the water wheel fight, or even in the first film, like they have basic sword fights that are able to evolve. Like they have multiple viewpoints and different angles, and like the stakes heighten within the fights themselves. Like they really pull off some really good stuff here.
I gotta say, the final like water wheel fight kind of reminded me of a toilet. Like they're just going down a
they're just spiraling around the toilet.
Yeah,
fighting
like that
each
water
other.
slide called the toilet bowl.
Yeah.
Great to watch.
That's how I describe my morning.
Yar. Can I go back to the Will Turner becoming the whatever and only being able to come on land for 10 years? Because that fucking bothers
Davy.
me.
Yeah.
Why didn't Elizabeth go with him? She wants to be the pirate. She's the pirate
That's
king.
exactly what I was thinking. Like she
just stays on
But it
land
can only
and
be
becomes
one
a mother.
person who stabs the heart.
This is the plot.
What are they gonna
hole.
do? Kick her off?
So Davy Jones came back from the other place, right? Like the After Earth stuff, and on his one day to like hang out with Keira Knightley. Yeah. But like he has to go back to that weird ass realm. Mm-hmm. Like she can't live in that realm without also being dead.
Have to be underwater, so she can't just go down.
Look, okay, we're basing it on this. They could easily have just been like, "Oh, actually, pirate magic, you can." Like, they just make it. They're bullshit on their ass the whole movie.
She could have served on his crew.
Yeah,
But the yearning is too delicious.
But he becomes the captain, and they all like lose all their weird, gross fish stuff. So clearly, it just goes by whatever the captain's orders is. Like they all look like that because he's a weird squid man. But then when Will comes up,
and Will could get a bucket like Davy Jones did, and
just go stand on land
all day.
Yeah, and then hang out.
Milk out immunity.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a much
great?
There are more guidelines. So.
Hey, babe, it's getting cold. Do you more water?
More water.
The plot is more of a guideline. But no, wouldn't that be a much more fitting end to Elizabeth's character? She spends the first movie like she's all this proper English lady, but she just wants to be a pirate so bad. And then the third one, she's named Pirate King. Wouldn't it be much better if she sails off into the horizon with her love and they both get to be pirates instead of just like, oh, she's a mother. She stays on land. She has his kid.
And she literally gets the opposite of what she wanted. Like both characters get the opposite of what they wanted, which is why it's tragically and dramatically fulfilling as an ending. But like, it's a bit of a bummer too.
Such a bummer.
Because like their love really works. Like they actually sell their chemistry really well.
Yeah.
I was pissed off because the second movie they stop their wedding. It's the first scene of the film because
I love the tease on that.
They've basically driven them to that point at the end of the first film.
Yeah.
But like in this film, they towards the third act, they get married as they're fighting.
So great.
One of the greatest scenes in the entire.
It's incredible. It is just the best. Like you cannot top that type of stuff. Where I'm like, okay, yeah.
Like shooting.
I was like curmudgeon earlier.
Yes, they're behind you. Well,
Elizabeth. I love it every time he just like does a pirate noise where he's like, "Arr!"
Oh no! What is it? In the third, he goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, no, what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing?
What are?
What are you doing?" It's like he wants him to acknowledge it, but it's so funny.
SpongeBob, me boy.
Are you ready, kids?
Are you ready, kids?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why we all love the Pirates films, just because we already love SpongeBob, and we're like, I know these guys.
Yeah.
Very pirate coded, that whole series.
Yeah. Isn't Davy Jones' locker is a literal locker?
Yeah, well, you see it in one of the later seasons. Davy Jones' locker is Davy Jones from the Monkees. It's his locker. But there's also like
it's got like gym socks coming out.
Yeah, it's his gym locker.
It's literally the locker.
Yeah, that's right.
Good ass show.
Good.
It's just be a SpongeBob show.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of parlay jokes here. I think they have a callback to it.
They have a lot of callbacks in this movie.
The callbacks get a little too much at a point.
It's a real
some of them I like, but it's exactly it's.
I think this movie, without getting too far ahead into Spider-Man, I think this movie works better because we're looking at 2/3 in a trilogy.
Yes,
I think this one works better as a third because, in a way, I think they intended it to be a trilogy.
Of course,
and the way it was designed, like they shot 2 and 3 at the same time,
Yeah.
and it was like planned that way. Obviously, in hindsight, ironic because they made 4 and 5.
Of course, yeah.
And then with Spider-Man, I think they wanted to make a 4th.
Yeah,
They
they had a
did.
4th
Raimi did
planned
not
out.
want to stop.
And
Yeah.
so like
Wow.
it's like that one became the third of a trilogy, whereas I
Yeah.
think it was supposed to be more, and I don't think it works as like a conclusion
Yeah,
to that story
the-
because
It
it
really
wasn't
just
supposed to be.
ends.
The only
Yeah.
concluding part is Harry Osborn's story, but even
Yeah.
Franco was game to come back.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and,
Which is
you know,
surprising because he is checked out that whole movie. He looks like he's stifling laughter the entire time.
He
like
looks-
he's saying these dumbass lines like, "Yeah, I just have amnesia. I can't remember
When
my."
he literally looks high whenever he has amnesia. Like he's just like giddy on
this my
set. Like,
house?
oh yeah, exactly.
This is my house.
But
Like, well,
to I guess my point of it back to Pirates
No,
is
yeah.
just that the callbacks I guess work for me. Yes, they get a bit obnoxious in this one, but
Yeah.
I think I accept it more because it's like it feels like okay, you're wrapping up this trilogy, the
Right.
story, and
And I think it works within the world of this film because it's like they set out their own language almost, right? Like every film does this with its screenplay. It sets out, themes and, just starts to deepen on the ideas as it goes on. But, this is the beauty of a franchise that you could have this shorthand, to things where like a parrot can say parlay as a joke and then and the audience
I
gets
know
it.
what that
Oh,
means.
they said that 3 times in the last film. Yeah, exactly.
They do the end game audience applause.
I mean, really, when the monkey shows back,
Oh,
shows up
that
again,
is-
like after
yeah.
they bring the black pearl up, that's an
Yeah.
audience cheer moment.
Yeah, that
yeah.
big.
We named the monkey Jack. There'll be a lot of that.
I mean, there's some good performances here. James Norrington as like the English kind of like
God, that actor from Pride and Prejudice.
yes, yeah.
The mean gay guy.
He is unbelievably good. He is so perfect in this Napoleonic little twerp role.
Yeah.
He was just a psycho, just a straight psycho. Because in his Norrington, we didn't like because he wanted Elizabeth. And it was
Right.
like, oh, well, he doesn't even want Elizabeth. He just like wants the pretty Elizabeth. Like he doesn't like see her for the pirate lord that she is. But
I mean,
anyways.
it makes
No, and
sense
it's fun-
why you
it's-
wouldn't see her as a pirate lord.
Yeah. Well, anyways.
It's fun to like push Norrington aside though, and then like let Cutler Beckett be like this other like English like brooding.
He doesn't want
villain.
Elizabeth. He wants her dead. Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
wants everybody dead in the world under his thumb, and that is like so endearing for all the different like villain arcs that we get throughout the Pirates. The first 3 especially, like between whether it's Jack, and when I keep calling him Orlando, but when William Turner switches over and starts working as an informant, then it's like, well, fuck you, dude. Like I was rooting for you.
everyone has their agendas.
Yeah.
No, but he's learning from like Jack's playbook too. Like, and so is
He's
Keira
just
Knightley.
switching
Like,
sides.
right? Like they're just like, okay, wait, I know I can't trust Jack because he did this to us last time we got to
Yeah.
this point, and so like their trust
But
issues.
I'm gonna
catapult
trust
them
him
into this.
again.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna regret it.
There is
but
a-
he's so charming.
There is a line I really like that they cut for Jack Sparrow. It's in a scene when he's negotiating with Cutler Beckett, but they basically
about to bring
reveal
this
that
up.
they had a past. That like basically he was hired by the Eastern Indian Trading Company to like travel with some slaves as cargo. And Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
or sorry, Jack Sparrow says no, essentially.
It says he's
Well,
the,
he-
the line
like-
is great. He goes, "Humans aren't cargo."
cargo-
It was
Yeah,
he got in trouble. He became a pirate because he set them free.
Right.
And then he stole cargo from them and
was
got rid of
branded
it.
a
Cargo
pirate.
was
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how it all
Yeah.
started.
Which is like they cut it because it probably made him too much of a hero, like explicitly. But
it's a
everyone's
little
already
too
on
bleeding
his
heart.
side. It's a Disney film.
Yeah.
Like we know they're pirates. They're not really. Killing.
It's also a little
We all
too
know-
real. Like I don't know if we
Yeah.
want to put
That's
slavery
interesting.
into the Pirates franchise when they have weird squid monster people to
And
mention
when,
the
like-
darkest stain on American history.
Yeah, when
It's
you also
unreal.
have pirate kings of like you've got an Indian pirate king and you have an African like
Yeah.
they don't ever specify what
They got a
country from
wheelchair
Africa it's
pirate
from.
king, they got-
They got a wheelchair. They got a gay pirate king. They got a trans pirate king. No, they don't. But they have they have like they have a wide ranging cultural just assortment of pirate kings from across the globe. That when you mention like slavery, it's like, well, where were they? Why weren't they stopping the slavery? But
Right.
it's weird. It did feel kind of shoehorned in, like hey, Jack's bad, but he's got a heart of gold. Like maybe he doesn't, and that's okay. That's what makes him so engaging.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like got a
Very
rusted,
fair.
blood-clotted, rum-filled heart, and it's so fun to watch.
I like it as backstory for the character, but I also don't
Really?
think it really fits in the movie. I
Don't
think
want
it's
it to
For the character, maybe it's one of those things. I feel like the director maybe told the actor to be like, "Hey, this is where you're coming from, but we're never gonna say it. This is just like."
I think that's an interesting
Right.
way to get someone to become a pirate, like to mention oh, this is why you have the gun, Han Solo, without like, just doing a full,
But
what
not
they did
Jack
with Solo.
Sparrow.
Yeah, like
he
that's
would
as
never-
much
he wouldn't
backstory
free-
as
I
I
don't know
want.
if he would free Solo.
I think he might.
I mean,
He's
and
not
it's
like a
it
horrible
is
guy.
interesting because like this is another move they kind of do in Spider-Man 3 where they recontextualize like Peter's whole past and even like his becoming of like what he is.
We'll get to that.
Because but like when you think about it, it's like Jack is this ineffectual pirate, or ineffectual, and like yeah, I don't know. It's just like, is he a bad pirate because he didn't want to be a pirate, or is he a bad pirate because he's just selfish, right? Like might muddy that.
little
too
column
much.
A, little column B.
Yeah, fair.
Hey, yeah.
I don't know. Any final thoughts on Pirates 3?
I'll take a 6th and I'll take a 7th, and I will be in the theaters as high as nuts, appreciating the visual scenery, and that's it on that.
Do they all have to be 2.5 hours long though?
It was the longest movie ever made.
And they cut 20 minutes of like just exposition. Like, it's
They should have just not filmed it. They didn't need to.
no.
It's not like it would have made more sense.
Should have just posted the script online.
You know what else is going to be almost 4 hours long, though? Killers of the Flower Moon. So I think we should keep a broad mind.
Okay,
Well, that's fine.
The difference is one was made by Gore Verbinski and one was made by Martin Scorsese. One of them made Mouse Hunt, one of them made Goodfellas. Like, sorry.
God, Gore Verbinski's Goodfellas was so
One of them
good.
has Davy Jones putting his tentacles into a guy's mouth
Yeah.
out his nose.
That was sick.
That
Oh
was
my
awesome,
god. Yeah,
yeah.
wait, and Davy Jones playing the organ?
Playing the organ with his tentacles and
Is
having
incredible.
the key come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would not get
Take that, Martin.
That's another thing I did want to bring up is that the special effects in this film, when this film came out, were actually revolutionary. Yeah. Like it felt like people were like losing their shit.
I'm
over-
still
over
losing. It
this.
looks so good.
It looks
even
better than
now.
Avatar.
looks incredible
I'll
still.
say that.
better.
Than Avatar. I haven't seen the new one, but the
Okay.
with an Avatar.
I thought you. Yeah, I guess
I haven't
thought you
seen the
meant
new
too.
one, but the
But-
first one, yeah. I just the Avatar got the hype that I
It's
always
better
felt
than
like.
fucking like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh yeah.
If you could even see it from how dark it is.
Looks. Oh my god, the Little Mermaid shit. That looks
Oh
awful.
no!
Have you seen the flounder poster? It's a fish. It's just a fish.
It's just a fish.
It's just a fish. It's got kind of a smile, I guess.
I mean, they already like Lion King was already a
Lion
travesty.
King's
Like
problem.
yeah.
Lion King is unnerving. Don't watch it high. Like I was just genuinely unsettled. I was like, this is not natural. Like because they look so real, and all of a sudden their mouths start moving in this really fake way. They're like singing, but kind of
they're
bopping
so
their heads.
unexpressive. Like yeah, but it looks like a nature doc. Like it was just like they didn't have a smart artistic take on it. Like you could have gone one or the other way. Like if you really
And the
committed
problem
to
is
it.
too is like it gets promoted as the live action version, but it's fully animated.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's like,
still
why do
animated.
that version of animation when you have the original, which is
What if they started doing
Such a
animated remakes of their live action movies? So then you get like animated Pirates
animated
of
Pirates of
the
the
Caribbean.
Caribbean at World's End.
You get animated Haunted Mansion
I
with
mean,
Eddie Murphy.
they're doing it with they're making TV series out of movies now, right? With Harry
Yep.
Potter and Twilight. So
And we're all
that
excited
could
for
be
that.
the next part of the
Dislike.
trend.
But I want to hear you guys talk about Spider-Man. Talk about this funny little movie.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Yeah, we will take a quick little break and be right back with Spider-Man 3.
A word from our sponsors, audible.com.
Hell yeah.
So this is what I think about Israel. Oh, shit.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking Spider-Man 3, also from 2007. This one's directed by Sam Raimi. You guys
Go.
Sam Raimi fans at all?
How could I not be?
You gotta be, right?
He's a good director. That's why I'm a fan of him.
I'm embarrassed to say the only Sam Raimi films I've seen is now the Spider-Man.
Spider-Man
trilogy.
movies? That's
Yeah.
totally okay. It's,
Yeah, they're good movies.
I hadn't seen a lot of them until Blank Check went through them, and I just watched them front to back.
And also to clarify, I just watched Spider-Man 3 this last weekend.
That's even crazier.
I know all the references, I know all the memes, but
You know Bully
So-
McGuire.
I know Bully McGuire. I know him personally.
Did oh, he bullied you?
He bullied me severely, but
Oh, are you gonna
I just saw the movie for the first time this last week.
So did you see the first 2 Spider-Man movies?
Yes, I had a very intimate history with the second one.
Yeah.
When it come out, my family was going to Germany, and on the plane they were playing Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was in 2nd grade. I was just watching that.
Dude, yeah, you're glued to the screen. Yeah,
glued to the screen. My dad was like nudging me, like, go to sleep. Like the whole plane, the lights are out, everyone's sleeping, and I'm just watching Spider-Man 2 like at least 2 or 3 times. And then of course, like my family like now makes fun of me that we land in Germany, get in our rental car, we're like driving around beautiful countryside, and I'm just like crashed out in the back because I watched Spider-Man 2
the whole plane ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is definitely the bigger one from my childhood. Like, I would rent that from the library all the time.
I find it so funny that I loved that movie so much and never saw the 3rd one.
Never saw the 3rd.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think like that's the thing is the cultural impact was there for the first 2. Like the enthusiasm from all your peers was there. Like the bottom really dropped out on the 3rd.
I remember the Spider-Man hype from the time, though. Like, I thought the black suit looked sick, and it's still does.
Oh,
Yeah,
I remember all the ads.
the toys everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember the magazine cover that had Shrek dressed as a pirate and Spider-Man because they
Oh my god!
Because that would have been Shrek.
Shrek the Third.
I'm pulling that up for the social media post this week. That's great.
I've done so much digging, I cannot find it. I might have imagined this, but I'm pretty sure there was a magazine cover that had Shrek dressed as Jack Sparrow and Spider-Man.
I feel like I've seen that.
That does sound like an AJ fever dream from when you were a kid.
If not, I'll make it with AI.
Like I was obsessed with Toy Story when I was a kid. Like that was my on repeat before I could say any words. And like I had a dream where like my Buzz and Woody dolls were like life size, and like I thought it was real. And like I woke up and they weren't, and I was like I was hanging out with them. Like it was a real
I'm for
fucking.
sure. I know.
I'm like
thought you were a
Buzz
toy.
and Woody from the movie hanging out next to me like
Smoking weed.
just yesterday.
You thought you were a
exactly.
toy. You thought you were like
I
one of
literally,
them.
well, or that they were one of me.
Yeah.
If I was one of them, that would have been like a nightmare, right? Like,
God,
like
you're
my parents
tiny.
walk into the room,
shake
and then
your
I just like
foot.
freeze,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Andy's coming.
Mom is coming.
Oh.
Oh. What?
Let's go back to Spider-Man 3.
I mean, yeah, I love these movies too. Growing up, Hulk actually was like a bit like that also came out in 2002 when the first Spider-Man came out.
I never saw Hulk, but I did have the toys.
That
Mark Ruffalo Hulk?
no,
that was
the Ang Lee directed
Eric
it.
Bana Hulk.
Eric Bana. That
Yeah.
was like actually hit me like somehow as a kid emotionally. Like I really love that. But everyone loved these Spider-Man films. Like how could you not?
Fucking great. I'm gonna say this right here. I'm gonna be that like Norman Rockwell brave man standing tweet.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire is better than Tom Holland by a fucking mile.
I think so.
Oh, I hate Tom Holland Spider-Man so much. I think he's a little twerp. I just want to kick him. I want to kick him in the face.
I think it's so tough because it's like it's about the inceptions of the characters that we're dealing with. Like when you want to throw Andrew Garfield into the discussion here, like they're pulling a lot from like the Amazing comic lines.
Yeah.
But
I think Andrew Garfield's miscast.
I think he gives a good performance but doesn't have a good script.
He would have been a good Harry Osborn.
He would have been a great Harry Osborn. You know what though? That's the thing is like James Franco was their original pick for Peter Parker.
That does not work.
No,
Oh my God.
absolutely. Because he was the star at the time, and Toby was like an unknown. And he was signed on to the project. He wanted
got
it
that
to
Cider
do it.
House rules.
And they ended up
God.
pushing him over to Harry eventually. And I think that's why their rivalry works so well.
Well, he also looks so much like Willem Dafoe's kid. Like it's spot on.
But also it's like he feels
He
like
was
as an
yummy in
actor,
that movie.
he's like I could have been Spider-Man, right? Like this guy did take something from me. Like he's personally invested in that.
Took
way.
MG from me.
Which is the same thing that happened with Loki in Thor.
Yeah,
Tom
he got-
Hiddleston was gonna be Thor, and then they cast Chris Hemsworth.
No, Tom
it's
Hiddleston,
insane.
natural
And
blonde.
you can't think of it any
bulked
other
up.
way.
Yeah, bulked up for the role, bulked way up,
Yep.
got like weirdly monster
Chris
big.
Hemsworth just like he's Thor. Like
Yeah,
he
exactly
looks like
right,
Thor.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think because I grew up with Tobey Maguire, I always liked him the most. I never saw the Andrew Garfield movies.
Yeah.
And I've seen 2 of the.
Andrew Garfield's just so
Tom
cool.
Holland.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah, he always came off
he's
where
so
it's
like,
funny.
Toby's
That's why
a
I liked
nerd.
him.
Like,
He's a nerd.
Yeah.
He's
He's
like
also-
skateboarding.
and
He's
a
wearing
loser.
t-shirts
Like,
on top of long
Tom
shirts.
Holland, I give him that he looks young and he like feels like
Yes.
he's like a kid. Like I don't know how old he is, but he looks
Well,
like
he
he's young.
was like 18 or 21.
He was
in the
19
first-
in Civil War the first time he was
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
and like I don't know how old are they supposed to be in like Spider-Man 3?
Well,
Are they like
Spider-Man 3? They're in college.
Yeah,
okay.
They're probably like later college years. And then like all of the Tom Holland ones, they're supposed to be in high school. Literally, the third one is
because I mean they look
getting out of
older.
college.
I agree that I always like.
Yeah, I rewatched the first one too, and I'm like, everyone here looks like they're 35.
Yeah.
Flash Thompson just looked like a man.
Absolutely.
There's a moment where their teacher stands next to them, and if you just showed them the picture and be like, which one's the teacher, you wouldn't be able to pick them out.
I mean, that's the problem, like with actors aging, right? Like you do not see the progression for like 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it looks like them, or they have to look the same for a really long time, or between a year. Like, look at the Stranger Kids things between seasons 2 and 3. Like, it's like, oh my God, that's a completely different person. Like,
My biggest problem with Tom Holland is a little bit like Andrew Garfield. I still think Tom Holland's too cool. Like, he just seems like kind of a sweet kid that like would be popular because he's really nice. Whereas Toby, like he just looks like a loser.
It's the
He's
thing.
got a punchable face.
Yeah, it's the thing where like a lot of action stars like nowadays are like missing out on failing, right? Like Jackie Chan was always getting beat up in his own like
Indiana
fights.
Jones, he's always like one step from being killed.
Absolutely. And it's like, I think that 1 foot back, you know, or like is so much more interesting than just being like the perfect hero.
That's also the
all
point of
time.
Spider-Man is that he's going to have to sacrifice everything. It's like, you know, on one side of the city, there's a fire that's going to kill 10 people. On the other side, Aunt May is in the hospital.
Right.
Like, he's always going to have to choose.
Yeah.
He's always going to lose. No matter what he does, he can't win.
And it's so good. Like that happens in the second movie where, you know, he's going to see MJ on an off-Broadway play, and like, you know, just some guys in a truck like are holding money bags out of the car. Like, it is so comical.
They got burglar
like you
masks.
love to see it. And
But that's what makes it charming, I think, is it's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you're not like waiting for like Iron Man to show up and save it. Like, you're like, okay, this guy is doing it all himself.
well, also just
there's
basic.
no
like,
one else is going to stop it
Yeah.
if he doesn't.
Yeah.
Basic writing, you never have a moment where people go like, there's a sand man? And they're like, that's a little dumb. Like, they take everything in the world, they take seriously.
yeah.
Like, the closest you get is that Spider-Man goes, where do these guys come from? And like, that's a funny joke because it's like, yeah, this is weird, but he's not like, well, this material is.
Yeah, or you could say
us, the writers are smarter.
Like J.K. Simmons can make the quip where he's like, Sandman, whatever. Like, you know, like he could just go on a riff. Like, and you would accept that. Yeah.
I want pictures of Spider-Man. I have one of my notes is that J.K. Simmons is just sinking threes this whole trilogy.
The whole movie.
He's like,
the whole trilogy. I mean, his first character introduction, there's this really fun game. Elizabeth Banks is playing his assistant, and she's got a buzzer. And basically, like, he's on heart medication. He's not allowed to get angry anymore. And so, like, anytime he starts to get angry, she puts a buzzer on. And, like, it only makes him more infuriated inside. And, like, he's got great physical bit with the pills where he spills them. Like,
so, like, easily the best performance of the trilogy, right? Like,
yes.
Maybe one of the best comic book movie performances ever.
So good there was no, you know, they're like, we're bringing him back into the MCU. Like, there's no one else we can even think of.
That's one of the few things I do like about the Holland movies is that they brought him back, but also changed him. So now he's like Alex Jones.
I wish they went harder with it. Like
J. Jonah Jameson in the new ones, he's like Alex Jones. You know, the turn of the frickin' frog's gay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But who are you comparing him to? J.K. Simmons?
Yeah, J.K. Simmons' character comes back for the Tom Holland.
he does like a
J.
fake
Jonah Jameson.
news thing even in these and in the
Because he's the one constant in the multiverse is that there's always a J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, they also have Whiplash in that universe.
Yeah.
There's some decent stuff here though. Like we start with MJ on Broadway, and I kind of like that it's like, so MJ's not great as a performer. Like she kind of is singing a mediocre song. It's from Annie Get Your Gun. It's like a Broadway review that they're doing here. On the commentary, they said that Sam Raimi picked the song because he liked it.
I was wondering, I was like, what the hell show is this?
It's a really random, obscure pick. You might even think it was written for it, but it's just it's good because then the critics kind of like how would you say it? They don't like they pan her. Thank you.
Yeah, they're like, she sucks. We hate her. Get her out of here.
Yeah,
I like their relationship in this one because, or at least I get what they're going for because like. It does feel natural that like there is this sort of rift in their communication. Like she's going through her own wins and losses. He's going through his own wins and losses, and they like are never really at the same time. And like it's hard for them to like communicate that with each other. It gets, Bully Maguire. He gets a little emo about it.
No, but it is almost a Star is Born-esque in that like one star will rise and one will fall, right? Like, and they're both like, she's obsessed with how the media is portraying him, and he's just finally glad that the city's on his side. Like, he's not even thinking about all these other things.
Yeah, it's like the first time that, excuse the pun, he's been on the upswing of things, because the first two movies, like, even when, I know, we gotta step back. But no matter what he does, even when he's helping people, like, it's just illustrated so well in the first, like, 10 minutes of Spider-Man 2, where he's delivering pizza and some dude just goes, Spider-Man stole that dude's pizza! Like, no matter what he does, half the city's gonna hate him, especially J. Jonah Jameson's gonna spin it, so that the city hates him. I'm spinning now. I'm literally spinning. Spider-Man. Can I say I'm fucking sick of that song too? The Spider-Man theme. I liked it in his original ones, but they keep reincorporating it.
I like in the second one they have a lady playing it on the violin, and she like just goes Spider-Man, that's a fun one, but. That's the thing. Marketing just tends to ruin all the fun things.
Well, that's what the Tom Holland movies. Their theme is just the Spider-Man theme, because they just take things from other movies and try to claim them as their own, because they're really uninspired.
Spider-Pig.
That they just did a John Hughes movie with Spider-Man.
Spider-Pig. Spider-Pig is this year.
Yeah.
The Simpsons movie comes out this year. So
Spider-Man was fucking
that's on top.
Oh my
That's
god.
probably right when it then just kind of
that was the best marketing for that movie.
Well, every kid was singing Spider-Pig.
Which made him go, oh, we should watch Spider-Man tonight.
Well, also Knocked Up this year. Like one of the plot points is that they want to see Spider-Man.
It's not in Knocked Up and in the other Judd Apatow. There's another throwaway line about Spider-Man 3 in both of those films. Wow. I like it's a really funny gimmick. Like, if you know your movie's coming out summer 2023 and you know Barbie's coming out, you're like, just make a joke about like, let's go see Barbie or something.
Oh wow, I gotta see Knocked Up. I haven't seen Knocked Up. I haven't seen like any
I don't know if you have to
movies.
see Knocked Up.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll live a full life.
It's just such a cultural, like that and Step Brothers and those movies that are so of that 2008.
Yeah.
Like 2007.
You can watch our episode on Knocked Up if you want.
I'll just do that.
Now.
I'll just do
Superbad's
that,
definitely
honestly.
the gem
Superbad,
from-
yeah. When was
Walk
Hard
Hard too.
that? Was 2007?
Yeah.
I didn't even
And
discover
Hot Fuzz, Hot Rod,
Juno.
Balls of Fury.
Juno's one of my top 10 movies.
got some listening to do.
Talking about Balls of Fury. I haven't done all these episodes yet.
Oh my god, yeah, all of those are fantastic.
Yeah.
Sorry, anyways.
No, you're good. A thing I want to get into though with like this movie too, just with Pirates as well, is the size of the production on scale here, or on display here, because it's unparamounted. Like the visual effects supervisor was talking about it, and he said the total file size for the first film was 4 terabytes. And when they were working on the Sandman construction scene, when he first kind of like transforms into the monster,
Beautiful scene. Like it's said all the time.
It's gorgeous.
So well done.
Also, the first thing they started filming, they did it before anything else. The script wasn't finished as well in this stage, but they needed to get the time going on pre-production. But that one scene alone was 37 terabytes of information.
Jeez.
Which just goes to show like how much like the industry was changing at this point. They obviously had some shortcuts where like they had built CG models of Spider-Man for Spider-Man 2. And they knew how to like swing these characters through the city really easily, but they took on a bunch of like stuff that they weren't able to do before. Raimi always wanted to do an aerial fight that was just like all in the air, never kind of, hit the ground. And they hit that with Harry Osborn and Peter when they first encounter.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea for a fight, is that he's not in the suit. He's caught off guard.
Right.
I mean, he's in a suit, but not.
No, he's exactly. He's in a dress suit, but like, and something fun about that scene too. Yeah, is that it's finally Peter fighting a friend. Like all the villains have been somewhat involved in his life, which is what makes these Raimi movies so great. Is that he emotionally has a connection to them. They're not just.
And then Tom Holland's movies, it's like they're all just enemies of Tony Stark. Anyway,
right, yeah. It's like what, dude? It's like Tom Holland is defending Elon Musk. Like, you know, he's like let me defeat all these supervillains that Musk created. Like, you know,
Spider-Man: No Way Home is one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen.
I mean, you know, it's It was fun in the theaters a little bit. I bet
people were wooing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a movie I'm itching to go back to see again because it doesn't feel like it rewards a rewatch. It's all built to just like push your buttons once, you know.
Mm-hmm. It was the one because I had not seen this Spider-Man 3 and then I had not seen either of the Andrew Garfield ones.
Oh yeah.
That it was like I went into it and I obviously over the years of memes and just hearing about the story, like I knew who these characters were, but I had no emotional attachment.
All those Jamie Foxx Electro memes.
Yeah, where it was just kind of like, okay, cool. Like, and I knew the whole thing of Andrew Garfield, Andrew Garfield, like, not catching
Gwen
Stone.
Yeah.
And so, like, when he catches her, I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing, but I just don't care.
Same.
Yeah, okay.
The way I described it is that watching Spider-Man No Way Home was like being a kid and watching someone break your toys.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, you're not playing with them right. They wouldn't say that.
But then when like the moment, like, I mean, maybe no one else, but the moment when he like reunited with Doc Ock, because I love Spider-Man 2, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Well,
they're together.
I think the
nice
movie even knows that.
Like,
they sideline Electro, they sideline Sandman, and even the Lizard is in it.
I mean,
like you're
all,
like, what?
All three
like,
of those can just,
they're just like, they wanted to hit
Lizard.
Sinister Six in numbers only.
Sure.
Right? Like, it was
they only
just
had
someone
5.
had that pitch. And exactly.
They didn't even get 6. Well, they have Venom in the end credits. They got Tom Hardy's Venom. He's in there, credits like, hey, what am I doing here? Well, I got a Venom in me.
Oh my god, I really want to see Venom. I have never seen
Venom.
Venom.
I actually haven't seen them.
I gotta go get them.
They seem like fun.
Yeah, they
like
seem really fun. They seem
I
really,
say it
really
hesitantly because it's from the studio that made Morbius still, you know?
Another one I would like to see just for
You
fun.
want to see that?
Yes!
I saw someone tweet out the story like in a thread, and I was like scrolling through, and I was like, this is absurd. I was just like, hey, this can't be a real movie.
I just want to watch it all fall apart together. You know?
I've been having this debate, and I want you guys to settle it, is who's the worst character in the trilogy? Because I got 3 examples. There's Eddie Brock, as played by Topher Grace. There's Gwen Stacy, as played by Bryce Dallas Howard. And there's the butler, played by some British guy.
I have a story about the butler.
The butler.
What's your butler story?
He was my parents' neighbor.
What?
That is John Paxton, or his name's John Paxton. He's Bill Paxton's dad.
Oh my God.
Is the butler. You're talking about the
Yeah.
Osborne butler.
Which Bill Paxton was in some Sam
He lives
Raimi
next
films
door to
before
Norman
this.
Osborn?
So my parents in Solana Beach is where they had a condo, and they lived there, and it was my parents' first date, and somehow John Paxton and his wife invited my parents over for chili, and Bill Paxton was there, and I think there was maybe someone else there, so they knew them casually, and so they show up for, it was supposed to be just chili night, and John Paxton shows up or opens the door in a tuxedo, and they're like, all right, this is are we underdressed or what? And so they come in, and I guess like they didn't put out enough napkins, so like my parents are like sharing napkin under the table, and then
Pretty bad butler.
he's a terrible
That's
butler.
like Butler 101.
Yeah, and then he like I guess the wife would just kind of rant about like a bunch of stuff, and during dinner John Paxton like pulls out a tape recorder and plays it back for her, and it just got tense, and everyone's like, "Oh,
Wow!"
Like he knows what he's doing, but
this was not the first time he pulled the tape recorder.
no,
He's been using that tape recorder.
yeah. But and then many years later, my mom they were in Palm Springs, and she was in the bathroom somewhere, and like heard this lady just like yelling, and she was like, "Mary Lou, is that you?" And just recognized that voice. She just knew.
So,
Yeah, it's
so
really
great.
fun.
But yeah, I didn't know it
Bill
until like halfway
Paxton's
through
mother.
the movie. I was like, "Who is this butler?"
That's
And I
wild.
looked it up, and John Paxton.
Yeah. He's a bad butler, bad friend, bad mentor to Harry. Just be like, Hey, so I know you've already taken a lot of damage, but everything you're fighting for is wrong.
He withholds a lot of information until
it's ready for the plot.
Until it's ready for the plot.
That scene's really rough. I think they cut it in the editor's
I wish I'd watched the editor's
film.
cut, but
it's pretty good. I realized I hadn't seen. I watched like on Vudu last year, Spider-Man 3, and I was watching the editor's cut, and I was like, this is really good. I just didn't really.
What's the big difference in it?
Not too many things, just like a few minor scene time changes, but there's one scene I think at the end, it's the butler scene that they cut entirely, and I think instead Harry just sees Mary Jane in peril on TV, and he just decides himself to go and join and save
it's
her.
like, you know what, even if he did, I'm gonna go help my friends, versus the butler being like, hey, actually no, he's good, you're fine, you can go ahead.
Oh, by the way, your dad did actually die by his own.
Yeah, your dad, the Green Goblin, he actually died.
I was there.
I was there. Yeah.
So you know how one of his weapons was a giant knife board? So that's the thing that killed him, yeah.
We talk about this a lot, but I'm going to tell you this now.
So you know how Spider-Man has never used a knife in his life?
Oh no, a knife!
I don't know.
Weakness.
Maybe he was reading, the Daily Bugle? Is that what it is? Yeah, he was reading all the misinformation about Spider-Man. He's like, yeah, this guy fucking sucks.
It's kind of funny that J. Jonah Jameson prints a retraction on that.
Right.
So Eddie Brock, played by Topher Grace of that 70s show, he plays...
Who looks just like Billy McGuire.
Yeah. So, did you say Billy McGuire?
Maybe. What's his
Big
name?
old Billy Bob.
No, but so...
Bob
Topher
McGuire.
Grace is playing Venom in this movie.
Okay.
He's Eddie Brock. He's a rival photographer at the Daily Bugle. And J. Jonah Jameson's like, all right, whoever can get me pictures of Spider-Man doing evil gets a staff job. And so Topher Grace, what he does is he takes a picture that Peter Parker had already taken and just like colors it black. And is like, Spider-Man's evil now.
Yeah, he does a Photoshop where he's like, it makes it look like he's stealing money.
Oh my God.
And then Peter Parker calls him on it because he's in his full emo phase and just doesn't care. And so J. Jonah Jameson's like, well, we're gonna have to print a retraction because we lied. It's like, bro, you're basically the New York Post. Like, nothing you say is true.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bully Maguire, I gotta say, really kicks this movie into gear.
Yeah, I mean, the most of the film is like this kind of the shadow that Peter Parker is fighting it has to do with Uncle Ben's death, right? Mm-hmm. And basically, like the dark suit, the Venom suit is like feeding on his hatred.
Yeah,
like
it's
mostly,
feeding on his evil.
Like it's like it's like evil are incarnate. Yeah.
Dr. Connor's just looking at Flubber and he's like, yeah, so this evil space skew, it like scientifically it makes you more evil.
It's so good too because in the commentary they're all just calling it goo. Like they were like they're like through production we never found a better name for it.
It's goo. It
like they're like they tried to call
it
it other things and they're like it's just alien goo or whatever. Like
is it ever given a name?
It's the symbiote is what they like
symbiote,
the science name they call it, but it's space goo. Yeah. The original plan was that J. Jonah Jameson's son, who's in the second movie, is about to marry Mary Jane. He's an astronaut. The original plan is he was going to go into space and then that would come back with him. Versus what they do in the movie where it just falls out of the sky.
And it gets onto Topher Grace.
Yeah, for no reason.
Well, first it latches onto Peter when he's just had his little date with MJ where they sit on a web. And then the plot has to happen so the space goo falls on him. And he gets a shiny black suit, and it makes him more evil.
So, yeah, that's the big problem with the film, right? Is that, like, a lot of things just have to sit and wait until they have a time.
Movie. It's like, and then this happens, and then that happens.
Right, and that's like, the big thing with this film was that Sam Raimi wanted to make a Sandman movie, and he was going to get to the James Franco stuff because he had set that up in the last film. He's like, great, we got two villains here.
Yeah.
Let's go. We've done one villain in the last two films. Like we can expand on this a little bit. And Avi Arad, which is one of the longtime Sony producers, famous asshole
with ties to Trump.
Well, he's just like laundry list of bad, takes essentially. But he forced Venom in for toy sales. He was like, the more villains we have, the more toy sales we have. Venom's the most popular.
Money?
And Sam Raimi doesn't give a shit about Venom because Sam Raimi is pulling from like the 60s Spider-Man where it's just like a guy puts on a bird suit and robs a bank.
And Venom is all about in the 90s when comic readership was like falling away and like they were just doing everything they could to try to seem like edgy.
Yeah.
And
where Deadpool
came out in the 90s.
Okay,
the Merc with the mouth.
And it's like Venom can be done well. But
As
and
we've
I
seen
and I even
twice.
think Raimi exactly. I think Raimi actually has a take here that could have worked just in a different film.
It'd have to be expanded. It's in the last 30 minutes that Topher Grace just becomes evil,
Right,
gooey
right.
Spider-Man.
And they barely get to it. And I think too, like special effects wise, Venom was
It
not.
looks
He was
bad.
really tough and really hard to do. I think he looks okay. For
He
the
looks
time
fine
being.
when the mask is down. When it pulls back and it's just like Topher Grace's
His
dumb
face.
face
Dude, but
with the bad teeth.
They built
The
a,
teeth
they
was
built a
insane. I did see
miniature
pictures of that.
of Venom, and it looks like 10 times better. And they were trying to do more miniature work in this film. They did a little bit with a couple like cars falling and stuff, but they for whatever reason the studio wanted, I think, a little more CGI potentially for that. I think they thought miniatures would look cheap. Which is like really upsetting because Sam Raimi has some of the best miniature work in Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. Like the guy really can pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me look at my notes.
There's another. So Thomas Hayden Church is playing the Sandman here. The producers said that they had seen him giving a acceptance speech for the movie Sideways. He had like a big role in that. And
where they taste wine.
I've never seen this actor before, but as soon as I looked up pictures, I'm like, oh, I have seen this part of Spider-Man.
It's the guy
Yeah.
from
He looks
George
like-
of the Jungle.
It's like John Cena with a lot more skin and a lot less muscle.
Yeah.
More hair.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting that he was hired off of an acceptance speech
to play a villain.
not the iconic performance
As I
itself.
say, he's great in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
but
looks so good.
it-
His
but-
costuming is top notch.
Oh, they nailed
green
it. Well, that's
striped
the
shirt?
thing.
Yeah, well, it's a direct translation from the
Right.
I looked that up because I
Yes.
haven't read any of the comics, and I've seen a good amount of like the Marvel movies to know most of the characters, but because he wasn't in any of them, I looked him up, and yeah, he's like exactly what he wears.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that they even do with Doc Ock really well, because like Doc Ock is just wearing like a trench coat and like goggles, and like they somehow make it look cool in the second film. Like they don't just take the costumes and then like throw everything out. Like they're actually trying to adapt the
His
characters.
is a little different. Doc Ock is a little different from the.
Yeah, he's
comics.
got, like,
yeah,
a
well, he's got the
green
lab coat,
yeah,
right? The
suit,
white
yeah.
lab coat,
But
which,
no, I
and
like
the green
his
gloves
because I
or the
grew up
yellow
with the
gloves.
He's got a
movie.
bowl cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with the
The
movie,
bowl
so I
cut.
liked his look, and then I saw the comics. I was like, oh, he's fine.
And the
Yeah, I like
arms
him.
were also practical in the second movie, not in the
Yeah.
Tom Holland movie, and that's why it's not as good. But they were practical. They had people
They
just
did,
moving around.
they did a little bit of puppet work, but like
They didn't do any.
like I
puppet
said,
work
a
in No Way
little
Home,
bit.
though. Yeah, like there's videos of them behind the scenes. There's a great one where he's practicing for Fiddler on the Roof because he was going to be in that right after
incredible,
filming
incredible.
ended, and they're doing If I Were a Rich Man, but they're puppeting the octopus arms too.
Yeah, he's going.
Oh, he played
He played Tevye.
Man.
Tevye. Oh, I bet he was great. Is he Jewish in real life? That actor?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Alfred Molina.
I'll pull up early life on
Italian
Wikipedia.
Jewish. Early life. Who was his mother?
He is not Jewish. He's Spanish
Glad I said he's Jewish.
and Italian. Spanish and Italian.
Spanish Italian.
Hey.
Italian. Very cool.
If I were a rich
But yeah,
man.
the just going back onto the thread of how big of a production this film was. They were shooting in the streets of New York. They were shooting downtown LA and in Culver City. Studios spaces out here. I'm pretty sure they did one of the fights in Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, you gotta.
It's not because it's like it was one of the car scenes. So
It must.
well, but
Spidey's going to Cleveland.
because you have to double for New York, right? A lot of the
Yeah.
times, just for like the logistical stakes of a production. There was a car chase where the Sandman is stealing money out of an armored car. Another classic genre setup,
Yeah.
right?
Those armored cars with
The
bags
armored
of
cars with money, bags of money with dollar signs on the end of them. But yeah, so they blocked off 10 blocks of the city for this shoot, and they repaved the whole road, just because like the road wasn't good enough for it. And it's just like, just goes to show like how much work goes into the coordination of like even a simple action scene. Like they were calling it whole ass cities and being like, can you
Yeah.
stop traffic for like a couple days, like, and let us do this?
Do
Like,
you think a single Avengers movie has been filmed in an actual location in a while?
well, Endgame had like
No.
a few outdoor New York shots, like a few.
the easiest on location thing.
But the problem is like everyone's really worried with spoilers. Even though like when you see someone in a costume out on the streets, like all it spoils is the costume and the lighting doesn't even look good. And that's the thing. Your mom is not going to see those photos, right?
It's
like
just freaks on the internet.
just the freaks,
which is this fan base.
right? You know it. You know it. We cater. But yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's just like go outside, shoot the real thing, make it look good. Right?
Also, it's just definitely way easier, and then you don't have to pay union people if they just shoot on a green screen and send it to underpaid visual effects artists. Disney is evil.
Yeah, I mean, again, like more of this stuff. The mansion that's Harry's house. Harry's house is a location in LA, and then it's also a set that they built, and they used the set in all 3 films. But it's a thing that they cut the set up and then put it on, stacked it on top of itself and put it into storage, like in between production, and then brought back out and painstakingly reassembled, which is just like
having an actual set with props,
right? Yeah. And keeping a set, right? Like being like, hey, we might make another Spider-Man, so like let's hold this around. Yeah. Or like, there's a cop that gets buried in like that same chase scene I was talking about, and they poured 4,000 pounds of corn grain on him. Like on one person, like that's Sam Raimi doing some sadistic ass shit to his actors.
More cops, honestly.
Well, actually, it was I think it was Bob Murawski, the film editor, that he did it to, which is like really funny.
And he's like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna make this movie incomprehensible."
Because right. The editor's cut's gonna be so much better.
These plot threads are not gonna link up. Fuck you.
In.
Another thing that I think this movie does really well is the heart moments that you just really don't get a lot of in movies. Like the Mr. Ditkovich, just the scene where he's like, Peter's a good boy. Hey, I know you're going through trouble. Like, that he's Peter's landlord who lives in the building. Rent! I need rent! And then there's a big blow up Peter has. He's like, I'll give you rent when you fix this damn door. And then Mr. Ditkovich is like, hey, I'm sorry, you're a nice boy. And it's just like, oh,
I know, yeah. And in the second film, he is such an actual, like, he feels like a villain, right? So, like, to see him, like, actually deflate, like, in this one and be like, hey, you okay? Like, is,
because it's the Charlie Brown thing, it's he's a sympathetic character because the world just shits on him. And then the small moments of kindness he gets just feel so much more amplified. Whereas, Tom Holland, everyone's like, we love you, Spider-Man, you're great, you're Iron Man's friend. And then, like, any actual sad moments is like, oh, he's like a rich kid, I don't care.
Yeah, and his Aunt May, like, you just think of that relationship and how much weaker it is than Rosemary Harris.
Yeah.
Like, Rosemary Harris brings me to tears in, I think, almost every one of these films. Like, genuinely, she rocks her scenes.
She's like 90 years old and she's his aunt.
She looks like a breeze is about to like blow her over, and like she's gonna like
she's like
perish.
Mr. Burns in a wig. Yeah. But that's you need that though. It's just visual shorthand, which is what Sam Raimi's so good at, is the shorthand of like, oh, she's old and feeble, so that's why he needs to take care of her. Versus like Aunt May in the new one where she's Marissa Tomei in a smoke show. It's like she's got her shit handled. Like you don't need to be around her 24/7, Spider-Man. You'll be fine.
Why are you so worried about this 45-year-old woman?
This very capable young
handling
woman.
her life, like she's vibing.
Like Aunt May looks, if she sat down wrong, she might lose oxygen from her brain.
Like, that's like you get a phone call, you're going to be worried. You're going to be like, oh shit, it's Aunt May. With her, it's like you get a phone call, you're like, oh, whatever.
Marissa Tomei's got every divorced billionaire, like, at her door.
Yes!
Like,
yeah. Oh, she's bad. She's bad.
Another fun production bit here was that everyone took classes for this film, but, like, well, this is just how it was phrased in the film.
What?
So, James Franco took cooking classes to learn how to cook an omelet.
Okay.
You needed a fucking class.
Rich kid.
That's like 20 minutes.
Rich kid.
I was noticing that in the scene. I was like, they're really fucking up that omelet. Yeah. This isn't a hard recipe. There's a scene where they make an omelet and dance to the twist.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's one of the more embarrassing scenes.
Franco also didn't know the twist, so they had to teach him that.
He went to dance classes. He went to cooking classes. Oh, why? Omelet, twist.
It's in the name. You twist.
Somehow. He's like, I was busy getting 4 degrees at NYU.
Yeah,
like,
and then hosting the Oscars.
Yeah, right.
I was busy being a movie star.
Yeah.
Being famous and being rich. I was busy doing that.
People were cooking my omelets for me that whole time.
James Franco's ever made a fucking omelet.
What other classes did people have to take?
dancing classes for Peter Parker.
Hell yeah.
Shit.
There's a dance.
I mean, he
scene
does
and
do a
it
lot of.
shows.
He
There's
does
two
good
dancing.
dancing.
He walks
To be
down
fair,
the street.
The whole jazz
No,
club
there's a
scene when
jazz
he's, like,
club
going
scene.
around.
Oh, with
the piano
the-
and all that.
Yeah. the jazz club scene genuinely like
Mary Jane's
works.
Yeah, it does.
Especially
It does.
because like going in, you have this rivalry where so Gwen Stacy is kind of the new it girl being brought in here. In normal Spider-Man lore, Gwen Stacy is the high school sweetheart, and then Mary Jane is like the second girlfriend. But they started with Mary Jane, so Gwen Stacy kind of comes in as the second element here.
That's why the
Okay.
Amazing Spider-Man, it's Gwen Stacy in high school. And the Mary Jane's supposed to be like the bad girl who comes in and is like...
Her name's Mary Jane.
Literally,
Oh yeah.
She's the college
Well,
girlfriend.
Scooby Doo, you know, he's like, that's my favorite name.
My favorite
it's
name,
like
bro.
my favorite name. No, but the Mary Jane's introduction in the comics is one of the most iconic things in any comic.
Yes.
Is she literally, as she's being set up on a date, it's her leaning against
blind
his
date.
door, and she goes, "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot."
Awesome. Well, the build up before it was all of his friends being like, I've met her and she's ugly.
About Mary Jane?
That was the time. Well, because they didn't know, and she's like a model,
Yeah.
and so it's just like Peter is like kicking himself for not going on this date that Aunt May set him up on because he thinks it's gonna be a shitty date, right?
They kind of flipped the characters of Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy. And
That's what I
sounds
was
like,
getting
yeah.
at though, was that like
Yeah, this
and
is all
then
so opposite than
the actors like
grew
you
up
know
with this
Kirsten
Arlene
Dunst is a blonde who dyed her hair red. Bryce Dallas Howard is a redhead
Yeah.
who dyed her hair blonde.
Wow.
Like same with even Emma Stone. She's like
And like
you know,
the character
redhead
types are
doing blonde.
different. Like Mary Jane's supposed to be the fun, spunky one who's
Right.
like real going out and like
But
everyone
she's like,
loves her.
I have to stay home and study because I live next door to you. Like,
But there's this interesting thing where they're not killing off Mary Jane because they're like this is like his Lois Lane. Like you know we're not. She's
Yeah.
the steady.
does she die in the comics at
This is
all?
the comic.
Well, Gwen Stacy dies.
Oh, right,
That's
she
the
gets
whole
her
thing.
neck
I'll
snapped.
pull it up.
They're you know because they're worried about Peter Parker's secret identity a lot more in the comics. So Gwen Stacy finds out, but it's at a point where like they kind of want to keep the character kind of pure, so they end up killing Gwen Stacy so that you know the secret dies with her.
And it's like a question of whether Spider-Man actually killed her on accident because Green Goblin throws her off a bridge, and Spider-Man, instead of like jumping down, catching her, and then swinging, he just his web right at her. And you in the comic, so it's like snap, her neck snaps. So it's like, did Green Goblin, did the fall kill her, or did
It's the
Spider-Man saving her?
He's
kill
not
her?
using physics right. He
Yeah.
just stops her suddenly,
Pulls her
and
back,
she
she just-
jolts,
yeah,
and
in the
her,
movie,
she just
she's-
snaps her neck. Like that. That's yeah.
And you said she was to hold a secret?
Well, because the secret identity,
Oh,
right? Like the
yeah.
writers were worried about like dealing with it as a plot
How did
issue,
she
so they
know?
just
Yeah.
eventually killed her off, brought in Mary Jane, and then that was history. But I don't know. I think like just going since I'm here on the history of Spider-Man, I think the thing that makes Spider-Man so much more popular than the other superheroes is that they weren't afraid to lean into sci-fi as a genre, especially the era of comic books that were being made. They're all just a bit formulaic, and I think like some of these genre roots are what let like all of his villains start to get their own identities. And Steve Ditko, who's like writing, Jack Kirby and Ditko, I think are both like people who've written who have drawn for Spider-Man, and essentially like they had histories in more abstract art and more
Kirby's
scientific
art is fucking
and
awesome.
like it
Show
me,
basically
yeah.
just like cosmic
trippy.
and sci-fi roots, which just meant that like every time Spider-Man got something like an alien symbiote, even though that's the 90s, they knew how to draw it, right?
Wow.
When they had like a scientist there, they knew how to like make his lab look cool. And I think like all these genre roots, you know, they bleed into Raimi's version here. And I think it's what we've been talking about, why we love these movies so much. Even though this movie is really cheesy, has a lot of bad lines at times, it still works because it has its heart in that world of genre.
And it's not
films.
afraid to be silly and take it seriously.
Yeah.
Take the silly seriously.
There was a quote on the old Batman show that I think Adam West said it, but it was, you take the material seriously, but you don't take yourself too seriously.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah, it's like they're not going to be cracking lines where it's like, So a Sandman just punched my girlfriend. That's weird. It's like, well, of course a Sandman. That's this world.
And I think that, like you said, like the jazz club scene works because I'd seen all the memes and like out of context, I was always like, oh come on, like
right, this is ridiculous.
What was the decision behind that? But then when you see it in context in the movie, you're like, no, like it's goofy, but like I get why they did that.
Well, and the joke's on Peter. Like the film knows the joke's on Peter.
Yeah, oh yeah.
This is almost like a point where like the audiences start, splitting, where they're not understanding the media analysis enough, and they're ruining like their own enjoyment of something by being like, this is bad. It made me have an awkward reaction.
It's like also Peter Parker's a dork. Like he doesn't know what being cool looks like. If you just make him a symbiote that's gonna make him more edgy, that's what his version of being edgy is.
Absolutely,
just like being kind of a dick.
That'd be my version of being edgy. Would be pulling out a musical theater number in front of a jazz club and thinking I am killing it somehow. Like
Now dig on this.
Push your girlfriend out of the way and take the stage.
Yep. Okay, really interesting thing. I don't know if you guys knew this about the film. It was originally planned to take place in winter, and they actually in all the concept art were drawing up these snowy New York backdrops for the black suit. So like when he's like really like, oh, dude, it's when I heard it, I was like, fuck, that would have ruled. Especially because they brought it up in a scene where Mary Jane and Peter Parker break up, and they're on a bridge, in Central Park.
Yeah, right.
And it's just a bright, sunny spring day.
Yeah, it's kind of a bland shot.
It's a very bland shot, and like if you want to go there, you can say this is Peter Parker's expectations of the moment versus what Mary Jane's coming in with. But if he came in with like that attitude and it's snowy as fuck, she's depressed. She breaks up with him right there on that bridge. He's like holding the flowers down. It's just snow coming on him. Like, I think it might have saved the film. Like it may have been enough to deepen the work here.
Why? That's so interesting. Why would you pick a season and then not go with it?
Well,
that
was a production issue.
Could the Sandman still work with the snow?
Oh, it would be
Snowman.
It would be beautiful.
Well, dude, especially him getting wet and like muddy.
Yeah, would it read as well? Like,
that's interesting. Especially, I mean, because like
yellow
yellow
really cool on the snow.
Yeah,
that's interesting because construction happens a lot in the winter.
I mean, because they had brought up that it was because of the film had a release date, and so they were just beholden to shooting in New York in spring, and so they were like, okay, well, winter's off the table then.
Yeah. I love a good superhero movie in winter.
Batman Returns.
Oh, Hellboy.
Dude, yes. I haven't seen Hellboy yet, actually.
Oh man, if you Hellboy,
I love Blade
Hellboy
2.
and
Love
Hellboy
Blade 2.
1. Blade 2?
Guillermo del Toro directed
never
it.
seen Blade.
He did like some of the Hellboys.
Doesn't
He
No
did
Way
the second
Home
one. I
take place
fucking love the
around
second
Christmas?
Hellboy.
No Way Home, doesn't that take place around like?
Well, Into the Spider-Verse is a Christmas movie. No Way Home, it has winter scenes. It does have winter scenes.
It ends with him like swinging and there's snow on the ground.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the end is definitely winter. Yeah.
That just shows we have to be like, is that what was in that movie?
What?
The end is definitely,
I almost rewatched. Well, I wasn't gonna rewatch the Hollands. I was gonna rewatch the Garfields because I feel like those I really haven't seen enough.
They're so fun.
He's fun. I loved Emma Stone in them.
Yes. Oh my god, that scene where he admits that he's Spider-Man and they're on the roof. And he
I love that.
spins her in with a kiss.
Yeah, she's like she's about to go away and he just like webs her.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's hot.
That's because you have to make. That's the things. It's all up to interpretation. Even when it comes to comics, when you come out with a new issue of Spider-Man comic, it's going to be a different take on the character in some way. There's going to be some new gimmick. There's going to be some new environment change or fundamental change to the character that, like, when you do cast different actors and you get that different effect from them. I mean, God, it's hard to say that with Tom Holland because it doesn't become an actor movie anymore. It becomes an industry movie. It's a Marvel movie. It's not. It's no longer like the first Iron Man. That was a Robert Downey Jr. movie. The third Iron Man. That was a Marvel movie. That was not.
No, the third Iron Man was the Shane Black movie.
Second Iron Man.
The second Iron Man. Yeah.
That's a Marvel movie.
Well, second Iron Man is exactly demonstrates the point even better because it was in the middle of the writer's strike. So and in the first Iron Man they didn't have a script when they made that movie.
Literally
they
a
improvised
quote from Jeff Bridges. We had no
day.
script, man.
He said Jeff Bridges said this is the most expensive indie film I've ever shot.
That's
he was like once he came in with that framing, he was able to not be stressed out.
Which is wild.
It's like, just come in and riff. Like,
that's wild because they had so much writing on that movie too. Like literally, I don't know if you know this, but Marvel, the company, before it got into movies, it took out a big loan from the bank so that they could make movies and start a cinematic universe. And what they put up as collateral was all the characters. Like all the Marvel characters they had.
The rights, the film rights.
If they hadn't turned a profit on those 2 movies, some bank would just own all of Marvel. They would own Iron Man and Captain America.
And then exactly, like, it would just be split up even further.
Oh.
Like, yeah, they caused the death of cinema, but they're also a very smart business.
That was it's pretty genius because how could it fail?
Yeah, I can respect the boldness
hustle.
of it, but also they're kind of evil and responsible for movies looking like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fun stuff.
Who's
Thank you, Spider-Man.
Who's your favorite Spider-Man?
My favorite Spider-Man's probably Tobey Maguire here. I think, though, I'm really liking Miles so far. Like in the Spider-Verse
Miles,
movies.
yeah.
Oh my God, Miles.
He hasn't really been written in comics too great because they just really haven't given too many people of color the chance to write him. But Brian Michael Bendis created Miles in the Ultimate comic universe, as you may know. But basically in this universe, it's the ultimate version of every character. They're kind of like the fully realized versions of themselves. And Norman Osborn kills Peter Parker in the Ultimate comic lines before he hits like college, or something. He's like 18 or like 20.
It's like what happened in Spider-Verse.
Does he come back?
And so Miles
Not
is like
Peter,
almost
no.
born out of like the ashes of this, and like Brian Michael Bendis, his kids, like I think is he like a white guy or a Hispanic guy? Do you know?
I do not know.
His kids, were people of color, essentially, like mixed, and so he wanted to bring in some more elements of that into the story.
white.
His head was in the right place for a lot of it. And set up a pretty interesting character, even if he didn't write it with the most nuance,
Sure.
I've been subbing at a lot of like elementaries with predominantly persons of color population, like 90%. Like there would be like 90% black kids, and it's so touching seeing them be like, "I love Spider-Man," and then like they're talking about Miles Morales.
Absolutely, because that is just Spider-Man to them.
It's so touching. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, representation matters."
I just
I'm gonna say it.
That's very brave.
I'm cutting that.
You're gonna splice it so it sounds like I said. Representation doesn't matter.
I'll just use that take, man. That was great.
Yeah. Why did I say
Oh no! I just saw the trailer for the new one. It looks
Across
The new ones,
Spider-Verse?
yeah.
Oh,
Hopefully,
I'm at
it's
full
the
blast
first
for
one like had such a subdued response in theaters too that like it came out on Netflix after, and a lot of people just saw it there. But now everyone's caught up on it. I feel like the next one should be a huge hit.
I saw it in theaters and we were hooting and hollering.
Me too. But
My friend stood up and saluted when Spider-Ham went back to his homeworld.
Yeah.
Was that Jaren?
No, it was Kramer's. He stood up and he went like that.
Salute.
We were doing the No
That's so
Way
good.
Home reaction, but to Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Dude, did you see the video of the kid doing a backflip in the middle of No Way Home? It's like Garfield shows up and he like stands up, he's like, and like does a backflip. The whole crowd gets nuts.
That
awesome.
movie literally
It's awesome.
builds in applause breaks. Like
Yeah.
watching it
Yeah.
in complete. I watched it just on my laptop the first time, and he just comes in. He's like, "Okay, I'm here." It's like
God.
pause.
Oh yeah.
I know.
There was a story that came out that Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil, did you see the Daredevil Netflix show?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, he was
He's
in
great.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, well, good for him.
Yeah, he showed up, and a story came out that the director literally told him to pause after he enters so that the audience can clap. That's how movies
Just do
are
a
made.
live theater then. Just put on live theater if that's what you want so bad.
Spider-Man.
God, imagine if they're just like, all right, so we're done making movies. They're now going to be plays.
Dude,
Yeah.
they did
Tickets
it
are
in
$5,000.
Oh, I was gonna say Spider-Man was as successful as a play before. So.
Turn off
Well,
the-
that.
Yeah. Turn
I
off
was
the
gonna say in
dark.
Hawkeye they had like a parody Avengers musical,
Right.
and like there were people like being like they should perform this at Disney parks and stuff, and you're like, oh my god,
They are.
Maybe.
Are they doing that
It
same
was-
thing?
it was
That's what it
announced
is.
they
That's
are.
what it
Yeah,
is. Okay, yeah.
Wow. I was watching this just like Spider-Man 3-sicle. Like, could we realistically
Spider-Man
put this on?
3-sicle?
I mean, if any of them are suited for it, it's definitely this one, right?
Yeah, it's wacky. It's got a large ensemble.
Do you think
Jazz
Bono
number?
and the Edge are available again?
I was just like, okay, so
cameos
Flint
now.
Marko would be a bass baritone. Obviously, Peter Parker's a tenor. Like, I'm just going,
yeah.
we can make this happen.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. There's one more production tidbit I kind of liked, which was when they were shooting the crane sequence, which is a crane from a construction site hits into a skyscraper where Gwen Stacy is. It's kind of how Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy meet.
My note for that was, is this building made of paper?
Yeah, abs, dude, it falls apart so fast.
A steel beam takes down the Twin Towers.
But fun production fact is that that was a 10-day shoot. They shot day and night, and they had 2 teams, and they would swap between day and night teams, and they would have twins for all the actors that were there, and they would switch them out with the other set of twins.
So many different takes?
Because they only had the space for X amount of days, and they had to get it done. It's just it's the weirdness of production where you would never assume any of this happens. Yeah. These are all extras in the background of scenes, but they went that hard. And that's the thing. There's so much craft in this film. You could sit there and admire the fuck out of this thing.
Raimi loves
but the script is not.
He's just a real shucks. I love making the movies. I love making people wowed. Oh gee, he's a real magic man.
If he didn't have as much artistic, flair in his directing style, I would call him a journeyman director, right? Mm-hmm. He seems like the type of dude that would just show up and do a work for hire thing. Oh yeah, I would love to make a drama this time. Let me best that out. Cause he has a baseball movie. He has he's got a heist movie. He's got horror films. He kind of has a bit of everything.
He's got a Doctor Strange.
He's
what do you guys think about? Yeah.
It was stinky.
I like it.
Which one did he do?
He did the
Multiverse of Madness.
He did the one
that ends with the third eye.
Yeah.
Yes.
He did the one with John Krasinski as Reed Richards, and we all clapped.
And then he died. And then we all clapped again.
He died. We clapped harder.
I don't remember this movie. I definitely saw this movie. And
this one came out.
No, I definitely did because I remember the ending.
This came out last year.
Popping out. Yeah, I saw this at home. We watched this over Zoom together, I believe. Not over Zoom, over FaceTime.
No, I watched it while you were sleeping one day.
Oh, and that's how I saw the ending with the third eye. All right.
Yeah.
There's that.
I thought, at least for an MCU film, it moved pretty fast. He brought, his humor actually was hitting. I was laughing at more jokes than I do out of most of them. But I agree. You have to, rate it on the scale of a Marvel movie. You can't rate it on these other things as well. Because it still has its own limitations because of the universe it's in.
I went in really hoping. I was like, please just let him have been able to make the movie he wanted, and then he got maybe 50-60% Sam Raimi in there, and then the rest is just Marvel goop. It's someone took a bowl of M&Ms and then put a bunch of shards of glass in it. It's just you got some sweet candy, but also you're gonna have to endure John Krasinski, Reed Richards. Yeah,
and also there was a production flip with No Way Home and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
The multivitamins.
Of Manhattan.
Of midness.
Muppets Take Manhattan.
Anyways, No Way Home was supposed to come out after Multiverse of Madness, and so there's this character, America Chavez, who's punching holes through reality.
She punches holes through reality.
Yeah, as you know.
Yes.
She travels through the multiverse.
But I wonder how much of his film got screwed up because they had to change the scripts.
I was going to say,
because the releases got flipped.
Wasn't his whole problem because of the Spider-Man? Help Spider-Man in the other one?
Yeah, that exactly. That's the it was it's supposed to be a cause and effect thing. It became an effect and cause thing that they just weirdly had to make work.
I remember America Chavez. I remember her.
You're awake for that part.
Yeah, I remember
America Chavez. I remember that jean jacket.
Yeah, exactly. I was cool. Jean jacket. They brought in a jean jacket, young girl of color, and they're gonna solve the world.
I think it's just so hard for me to get excited for any of this content anymore. My eyes are just glazed over. It's Adam Driver's gonna be Reed Richards. I'm I don't care. Stop. Just stop.
Make something original, maybe.
Give me a break. Stop.
A break is what they should have given us. After Endgame, just actually giving us a break.
Yeah.
5 years, no Marvel. Let people miss it.
And that happened over COVID.
Yeah,
they had the break built in. They just didn't take it. They were
yeah, they could have, but they did not.
And they went straight into Black Widow.
Oh, and poor Florence Pugh. She's got so much more talent than what they're giving her. Midsommar, she eats. She's so good, but
Don't worry, darling.
It's too bad. She has so much talent, and it's going not so great.
That's all right. I'm sure Florence Pugh's career is going to be fine.
She'll do okay.
Yeah.
She was actually my parents' neighbor on their first date.
Oh my God, who did you not live next to, man?
I was like, on their
So my parents
first
actually used to
date.
live next to the Sandman.
Yeah.
My dad's Spider-Man.
Yeah. He wore a tux.
We were here with Evan McGuire.
What?
Yeah. Well, everyone, anyone, last thoughts on these films?
I have one final thought
Yeah,
that I have to get
please.
in here, and I
Please.
only thought of this because we watched the new John Mulaney special last night. But Bully Maguire is how I imagine John Mulaney on coke.
Oh my God, that is
Yeah.
so good.
He's kind of a prick.
Yeah, just like kind of rude and still a major geek. Just
Like really into jazz for some reason at the
Yeah.
moment. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aggressively.
John Mulaney
His
just
hair,
like, putting his
yeah.
hair down like
Yeah.
that, wearing all
Stick
black.
on this.
Stick on it. Hi, I'm Bully McGuire.
Hi, I'm Spider-Man.
He would always wear the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My sword. I dropped my pirate sword.
If we mentioned that we're dressed in character, I don't
Oh
remember.
yeah, I have a style.
This audio
incredible.
medium.
Yeah, I got my Spidey T-shirt on.
I love the Spidey T-shirt.
I
That
wore
is-
that. I wore this on
Evan is
episode
here.
1 of this podcast. I'm
Hell yeah.
an outfit repeater.
Oh yes.
Oh well.
You're dressed as a director. that's the vibe. Is you've got color coordinated on, but it's
We
comfortable.
didn't
to
More or
wear.
talk
less.
about Sandman being the real killer yet.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Uncle
Oh my
Ben.
God. I'm sorry.
brush
Yeah,
up
we
on
we were idiots and talked about this film off mic. But, yeah. So the big thing is of this film is that they changed the backstory
Yeah.
of Peter Parker. So it's really well laid out in the first film. You know, the death of Uncle Ben is what drives him to become Peter Parker. He doesn't stop this robber, basically, and that robber shoots Uncle Ben. And
remember that.
And then he chases him down and accidentally kills the guy. He doesn't, directly kill the guy, but because he was chasing him, he started the chain of events that kills this guy. Spider-Man 2, is there a wrinkle on this? I think they just bring back.
They they'll briefly mention I miss him.
Yeah, it's not a deepening really. It's just kind of like reminding. But in this one, they actually changed the mechanism. So the actor who's playing Sandman, basically he comes in and he robs he steals the car from Uncle Ben before.
And he's the one who killed him.
Yeah, but
And Ray's actually a Palpatine.
but there is this interesting moment where
Palpatine has returned.
he's wondering if he should or shouldn't rob the car because Uncle Ben's his gravitas is think this through, man. And then his buddy comes in and is like, come on, we gotta go. And then he accidentally fires the gun.
Yeah.
And so you could say that if Peter Parker still stopped this guy or delayed him, that Sandman may have had a change of heart and put the gun away, and then it wouldn't have fired him. That's my
that's
most
a-
gracious
Woulda, coulda,
reading
shoulda.
of
See, that's
this.
a big fucking stretch.
But
is the
really,
problem.
it doesn't work, and yeah, I think it actually takes
It li-
away from the emotional crux of what
It's just some guy.
glued everyone to the character in the first place.
Yeah,
just a
it's
stranger who
great power
loved you.
becoming great responsibility.
Get it, yeah.
Your friend in the neighborhood, AJ.
It gives
Following
Aunt May
neighborhood
that
Spider-Man.
great scene in it where then he then thinks he's killed Sandman and he then tells her he's like, aren't you happy? And
Right.
you have that nice moment.
And Aunt May's like, what? No.
no.
Why would I be happy that someone was just brutally murdered? What?
I'm not proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also she says Spider-Man doesn't kill people. What are you talking about?
Yeah, save that for Superman.
Don't let the Zod snap neck.
Oh my god. I've talked enough about that fucking guy.
You guys never brought up that series of tweets, I don't think.
Which one?
The screenwriter, there was a guy who said he could have wrote Batman v Superman better, and there's a line that Batman says to Superman where he says, "Tell that to Zod, snap neck," and it is the most edgy. You never read that bit? Oh my
Wait,
god!
Zod snapped, and that's the Twitter guy? Or
I'm sorry. I'm not explaining this well enough for normal people that don't have broken brains. Superman kills a villain at the end of Man of Steel, and then in the next film, basically is just fighting Batman.
You can listen to our episode.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I will.
CriteriCast,
This is dumb
formerly known
shit.
as the
We'll
Stupid
cut it
Movie
up.
Podcast for babies.
All right. Speaking of, would you like to promote your projects at all, everybody, or get a last plugs in, anything like that?
Yeah, sure. Listen to my podcast,
structure
you bunch
here.
of fucking jerks. Called CriteriCast. We cover movies in the Criterion Collection like a bunch of little freaks. We have fun guests on. We had Lewis on back when we were the Stupid Movie Podcast for babies.
Yep.
It's different.
I am a stupid
No,
baby, but
you're
not a
stupid
Criteria
baby.
cat.
Yeah, we'll have you back. You'll be a Criteria Cat soon. So yeah, listen to that or don't. I'm not your boss. Do whatever.
As Lewis said at the top of the podcast, I'm a filmmaker and a musician, so check out my music. I'm on Spotify at Adelaide, just spelled Adelaide. Check me out, Stranger in Spring, single dropping. Thank you so much for having me on this.
Hell
This
yeah.
was the most fun. This was the best, probably. What is it? Tuesday? It's a Tuesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday night.
Wednesday night.
Lemon, it's
It's
Wednesday.
the best Wednesday night I've had in a long time. So thank you.
I have nothing to plug. I'm on social media at Evan Ridpath.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
Thank you so much for having
You
me.
do not have to have it in the plug. Yeah, I'm
When I
so
knew-
glad
when
to
I heard
have
it
you.
was Pirates 3, I was like, I don't care what part you're pairing it up with. I'm doing Pirates 3, and now I'm glad I'd finally seen Spider-Man.
What film would have tested you though from here? Like if I was telling you.
Oh man, what else has come out 2007?
I mean, yeah, like Balls of Fury. Would that have been one you would have sat through?
E-movie.
Would you have sat?
yeah.
Would you have sat through like Bridge to Terabithia,
I
like-
would actually
or
have
like
liked to rewatch that.
Silver Surfer?
Oh.
The Fantastic Four 2 came out this year,
Ooh.
Fantastic.
and Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
What else? Like Fortastic.
There's a
Fortastic May 20.
four. So
Your
Fantastic
pro
Eight.
cage.
I'm glad it wasn't B movie.
Okay, yeah.
Glad?
I was pushing to add Shrek the Third to this, so we would do three
I only
movies.
Three
ever saw-
thirds?
I only ever saw that one in theaters.
I saw it in theaters 3 times
I
opening.
don't
weekend.
know. I don't know if I've seen it. I gotta be honest.
Well, I've seen it enough for everyone.
I saw
here.
2, loved 2, and I didn't need to see any more.
Oh, I've seen the third, the fourth.
Third, fourth. I'll
Big
see
Shrek.
the fifth.
Big Shrek couple here.
I'll be there.
We love Shrek.
Shrek
Oh,
forever.
yeah. We also have not established canonically that your friendly neighborhood AJ and Adelaide are dating.
They know the lore.
Yeah, they can tell by our
was in
our
the
podcast personas, our chemistry.
Our banter. Yeah.
You're on that half, so clearly there's something
Yeah, exactly.
going on.
We have to be comfortable to be within a foot of each other. Yeah.
What does that say about us?
I don't know, man.
Ooh,
I was waiting for you to say
double
something.
date.
Yarg.
All right, everybody. Listen to the podcast, other episodes, check us out on social media, all that good stuff, and have yourself a great night.
Sleep tight. Calypso.
Calypso.